Solutions for real people.
WROC-AM, WBEE HD2 Rochester, and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia, Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Make sure I got the proper graphic up.
Thanks, Gino.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't see from this angle, but thanks.
I don't know what meeting would be so important in our company. This should be the most important thing on Mike Danger's daily agenda.
It is Reach we're talking about here, Gino. This is Reach.
He is Reach. It also is the trade deadline day as we welcome you into the sports bar. Gene Battaglia with you. Danger will be by here 1 minute, 5 minutes, not sure. Gave us the heads up, so you're working a little bit overtime.
That's okay, Gino. Happy to help.
Your Grim Reaper hat.
Grim
there.
and depressing.
That's it from Rochester. We are live on YouTube and Twitch. We are live on 95.7 FM and AM 950, of course. Free as always in the Odyssey app. And we're so glad you made us a part of your afternoon. And look, when we hear something from the Bills, we see something from the Bills, we're going to pass it along to you. So don't go anywhere. Nothing yet. We've got 59 minutes and counting. And even at the end of that 59 minutes, maybe something happens and it hasn't been reported yet officially. But the news today so far, it is a wild fire sale here for the Jets.
Yeah.
That's the headline. If it's status quo and Bills fans will be like, oh, we should have done something. Hey, some of these prices, I don't see the Bills giving up 2 first rounds for Sauce Gardner. I don't see them giving up a first and a second for Quinnen Williams. I think more of the 5 and dime stuff. I was just joking with Danger upstairs. Let me make this clear. Joking. This isn't real. If you're only half listening. Harrison Phillips feels like kind of the move. If the Jets are selling here today, would the Jets be willing to do a pick swap for Harrison Phillips, give him a little more collateral? I'm sure that the Bills are making calls. I'm sure that Brandon Beane has some offers out there, and I'm sure that, like anything else, what do you need sometimes to get a deal done? A deadline. Deadline's coming up at 4 o'clock, so whatever the price tag might be a little too high. Let's set you up for the show here today as we are jammed on a trade deadline Tuesday here. We will talk hockey today, as we always do on a Tuesday, with the head coach of the Rochester Americans. Mike Leone joins us. The Amherst splitting up in Laval, but if you couple that, though, with the win in Belleville, okay, that's 2 of 3 over the week, and now the Amherst are back home tomorrow night and Friday night. We'll talk to the head coach of the Rochester Americans coming up. Also, Isak Rosen going up, getting his first NHL goal. That's really cool, so we'll get his thoughts on that. RIT, they've won 5 in a row. Go Tigers. They are back home Friday and Saturday against Mercyhurst. We'll talk to the head coach, Matt Thomas, who joins us at the end of the show today. 4:45 for your fantasy football updates. We're always happy to be joined on a Tuesday from the NFL Network. Michael F. Florio all right, what do you do in Washington? What do you do with some of these players that might get dealt here between now and 4:45, 4 o'clock technically? We will talk to, and Mike is out on the Pacific Coast, so we'll talk to him 1:45 his time, 4:45 our time. And, of course, coming up at the bottom of this hour, let me not bury the headliner, Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, will be joining us as he, on this busiest of days, is going to give us a few minutes here, get his thoughts on what the Jets are doing, what else may happen here. And certainly, if you see something, just send us a note there, and we're just keeping an eye on X. It's always a little difficult to talk and read at the same time here, Danny, but I'm trying to do this. Multitasking, but that is it. Oh, and the Bills lost out on Rashid Shaheed. He goes to Seattle. All right. Look, Olave still is out there. There are other guys that are still out there at this point. If you missed it from last night, as soon as we get off the show, Taron Johnson restructured. So that did free up enough money for the Bills to make a move today. gosh, you go back to when we started the show in 2016. This was always a dud of a day. Nothing ever happened. We would just kind of joke, wow, this is not like the NHL. This is not like Major League Baseball.
NBA?
It has completely flipped. And the headline story here is it's the Jets. The Jets don't have a quarterback. The Jets aren't good. The Jets recognizing, hey, the way to get good is just to hit the reset button. Sauce Gardner, a guy they identified as a core piece. No, you're not. He's now a Colt. Colt's paying a high price. We can talk about the Colts in a little bit. Quinnen Williams didn't see that coming to Dallas, at least that destination. So what does this mean for Garrett Wilson? There's a report that Breece Hall has asked for a trade, whether he is granted that. I said this to Danger yesterday or Friday, one of those days. If we get to this and the Bills don't make a move, but the Patriots don't make a move, and the Chiefs don't make a move, okay, well, that's really kind of the Colts making a move for Sauce Gardner. Is Sauce Gardner good?
They were saying on One Bills Live that he's been struggling lately. I'm not even sold on the Colts. They could finish the season with the best record. I'm not sold on the Colts. Even Danny Dimes does not scare me. I know they have Jonathan Taylor, and who do they have wide receiver? Like, I'm not scared of the Colts at all.
Well, I think the Colts, from the way they play a physical game, they're not going to be an easy out.
But if you just play like you did against the Chiefs on Sunday, you can beat anybody in this league.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. I think that what this does, though, bringing in a Sauce Gardner, it signals to everybody else in that organization, hey, you know what? We're good enough, and we're going to spend, and let's go here. And with the exception of whoever that was starting at that corner position that now needs to step aside, that's a really high price to pay, 2 first-rounders. You know, your buddy there, I'm not calling my buddy Pizza Dude. He's like, it's going to suck when Daniel Jones gets a Super Bowl ring before Josh Allen.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't see it happening.
Patriot fan there talking. I will say that, and you're a Viking fan, it just kind of feels like maybe the Colts are this year's version of the Vikings, where let's rack up some wins, and when we get to the postseason,
they feel one and done to me already. I'm not even there yet. So the Colts are going to have to really show me something for me to believe that they are a true contender.
This is the voice you're hearing. That is Dan Drummey, who is pinch hitting in the best ways. Oh, and as we're talking right now, enter one Mike Danger, which I don't know what is more important in this company than our show. It should be the top one. Tim writing in, little less than an hour until the deadline. No news from Buffalo. That's true, Tim. Yeah, absolutely. You can write to us on X, the Fan Rochester being our handle. Oh my!
I'm sorry. I was just.
Can you hit the breaking news?
Yeah,
button?
sure.
Ow! It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
I came bearing this gift.
Well, it's not official, but we do respect Tim Graham from The Athletic, do we not? It is Mike Danger playing music in the background. There we go. Tim Graham tweeting this: keep an eye out on Deebo Samuel and or Von Miller from Washington to Buffalo.
Oh my God.
No on both.
No, I'd take Tebow.
At this point?
Yeah, I'd take him. You gave up a second for... No, you gave up a third for Amari Cooper last year, right? Mm-hmm. I hope they don't give up a second for Deebo, but I would say a third for Deebo. If you give up a third for Amari, you get a third for Deebo, I would do that.
No way on Von Miller.
Von Miller... I think the first thing I think is, okay, you're bringing back Von Miller. Why? So he could be the mentor. It's just so on brand.
Wait a second.
So on brand.
That's the one we completely overlooked when we're joking about all these Bills they could bring back. Hey, bring back Harrison Phillips. Hey, let's bring back Jordan Poyer. They did. We never talked about Von Miller because we just assumed Washington would be good this year. Good on the Commanders, too, for recognizing maybe they're not good. How are you, buddy? Welcome into the show.
Thank you. Sorry I apologize for being tardy.
All right, so let me just reset the last 5 minutes.
Please.
We set up the show today We are loaded. The one thing I failed to mention is 405 for this week's Survive in Advance pick, where Mike Danger is now the captain of this.
It took me that extra time. That's why I was tardy. I was just finalizing, I was in the lab, as they say. I was in the lab. I was getting all the final notes, all the final metrics before making a scientific pick for Survive in Advance coming up just after 4.
The Jets fire sale. They're going to be a fun story. If you're a Jet fan, you can look forward to the 26th draft, the 27th draft.
Because the Jets are so good at first-round draft picks.
Maybe they get another GM when this is done here. Maybe they recognize this isn't working here. Watching Dallas fumble around last night, and no, they're just deciding to go for it by picking up Quentin Williams. Great, fantastic.
Yeah, didn't they already trade for a defensive tackle from Green Bay?
He was part of that. Yeah,
right. But good. Quentin Williams in a new environment. We'll see how impactful he is for the Cowboys. I don't think anything is saving the Cowboys' defense. Jacoby Brissett looked like Tom Brady last night. What are we doing? The Cowboys' defense is fortunate that Cincinnati exists because there's a defense that actually makes Matt Eberflus's defense look a little bit better than terrible.
We got to go rapid fire here. The Colts.
Yeah.
So Dan DeLorean just had to take that Colts are a one and done wild card. And we're debating, and I don't know. I'm going to ask the question. I don't know the answer to this. Is Deebo Samuel at this point any good? And I would say that
Deebo Samuel or Sauce Gardner?
Sauce Gardner.
Okay. You said Deebo Samuel.
I know.
It's okay. No, Sauce, is he good? Last year was rough, right? But they still extended him in the offseason. And it was a deal that was easy for them to move because of how it's structured. At minimum, you're getting a guy at a position in his prime right now. Because the life cycle of a corner is tricky. You're not getting Sauce Gardner at the end of his career. You're not getting him at the beginning of his career when he's all athletic but no technique. You've got him now long enough in the league where he is still athletic and should have good technique. I just like the move for Indy. I like the signal it sends to the rest of the organization. And maybe Irsay's daughter is as neurotic as he is, and just like saying, let's go for it. Let's go for it. Why not? It's that F them picks mentality. 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner feels pretty aggressive, but it also sends a message that this is a guy that we're going to bring in. He's going to contribute right away. We're going for it right now. We believe in what we have right now. I kind of like the move for both teams. The first-round picks for the Jets is fantastic, except for their history of first-round draft picks. That's all.
Deebo Samuel due to be a free agent after this season, and the deal he signed was basically bonus money. So his base, 1.5, which half the season's gone by. This is an easy fit under the cap. Look, you can sell me on this if you're going to say this is the guy that we're going to take snaps away from Keon Coleman, and Coleman can sit over here.
I think he's tricky. He's somebody that you can utilize. He's a toy. He's somebody you can utilize in a lot of different ways. If you're Joe Brady, do you have something like that right now on your roster? Do you have somebody like that? I think the closest thing I can think of is like a Khalil Shakir. Imagine instead of trying to do an end around to Dawson Knox, you're doing it to Deebo Samuel. That I could get behind. I could see them getting creative if you have the services of Deebo Samuel.
Housey is a blocker.
The knock on Samuel is he's fat. The knock on Samuel is he's out of shape. And, he's been playing all season, and he's been decent. He's not doing what he did with San Francisco, and maybe he hasn't had that same opportunity. But I wouldn't hate that for the Bills. I still think you have an offense right now without adding anything to it that's right at like 30 points a game. One of the best offenses in the league. All you need is a defense that can prevent teams from scoring 30 points a game, and you should win your games. And when you needed them to stop a team from scoring less They're scoring more than 30 points. You weren't able to do it last year at the most inopportune time. So I still think bolstering the defense is the priority over adding a wide receiver. But I wouldn't be mad at adding another weapon for Josh Allen because maybe that 30 then becomes 35. And if you're scoring 35, you can still hold your opponent under 35 points, hopefully, with the defense that you have right now.
Von Miller 4 sacks on the season, and his contract 1.9 base. So, and it's very incentive laden, just like it was in Buffalo. Look, if Tim Graham's putting that out there, he's hearing something for sure. So that's not a rumor. I think that's what the Bills are working on if he's putting that out there right now.
The other name that I saw cross my feed, and I know that it upset a lot of Bills fans that wanted Brandon Beane to do something today before the trade deadline, the Seahawks getting Rashid Shaheed. And the price tag is a 2026 4th and 5th round pick for Shaheed. So if you're Brandon Beane, you just weren't willing to give up a 3rd for Shaheed.
Yeah, your 4th and 5th would be better than would be worse than Seattle's 4th and 5th. Mm-hmm. That would be my expectation.
Right.
I don't know. Like Shaheed, is he that much of a difference maker?
For what you might need in this offense, the field stretcher, a guy that can separate, a guy that can get downfield. We've covered this scorched earth. We know there's not really somebody on this roster that can do what Shaheed does. You thought it would be Keon Coleman. He just isn't fast enough. Shaheed would have been that guy. And Debo might be sort of that guy. I'm curious about that. He doesn't have the speed that he had, but you can utilize him in a lot of different ways. He would be a toy for Joe Brady. If that comes to fruition, we're under 45 minutes away from the trade deadline.
Is it a win danger? And I was just bringing this up before you came in, if the Buffalo Bills end up not doing anything, but New England stands pat and Kansas City didn't make a move too. Kansas City, okay, their kind of flaws are exposed. Maybe their offensive line gets healthy, but without Pacheco and without a healthy offensive line, that led to problems for them. They need some depth in that area. And then New England, the fear is, okay, are they going to go swing big for a wide receiver? And, Garrett Wilson is the next guy perhaps up here if the Jets are really, really trying to load up. Boy, for any Jet that's left behind today, good luck to you.
Rebuilding since 1970, the New York Jets. They're rebuilding within the rebuild. It's rebuild inception with the Jets. I do notice, though, that whatever your flavor of vodka for the trade deadline might be, if you're somebody that thinks the Bills should beef up the defensive line or get an edge rusher, get a wide receiver, there's no excuses. There are guys being moved around the league at all of these positions. You've seen safeties get moved. You've seen defensive tackles get moved. So if the Bills end up not doing anything by 4 o'clock, I don't think it'd be for a lack of trying. I think it would be for a lack of willing to pay what these deals are being valued as. Jacoby Myers. Wanted out of Vegas, got out of Vegas. He's headed to the Jags. And you imagine Travis Hunter, who we heard today, isn't going to be a season-ending injury for that knee. But Myers with Thomas, you got a pretty good 1-2 punch there for Trevor Lawrence. The Raiders getting a 4th and 6th back in return for the balance of Jacoby Myers' contract. So there's deals being done, but do the Bills value these players at what they're going for? No, because these players that are available at the positions we all think the Bills need are going elsewhere.
Well, I think that's what makes this fun the next, how many minutes, Jack's watch? 41 minutes.
Yeah.
This is really a negotiation.
Yeah.
You need the deadline. Here is a deadline. It's approaching. Can Brandon Beane kind of hold on to a better draft pick?
I know you reset the show, but my heart is aching for Matt Perino. Do we know what his status is? Is he?
Oh, he's 100%.
He's a gamer.
He's a gamer. I told him on a day like today, I had to make sure. We're going to just jump right into Matt, but Matt Perino, I don't know the status of his ankle. Might not be the high ankle. Might be something more serious.
Ooh.
He was still on crutches,
Ooh.
hobbling around.
Crutches, not a walking boot.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Both. No, it's both.
Both?
Actually. Yeah, both.
Oh, I don't like that. All right, we'll have to check in with Perino here. It's trade deadline day in the sports bar. Gino, thank you for being patient with me. And
thank Dan DeLorean for
thank
stepping
you,
up.
Dan
Is
DeLorean.
that okay? Just the question. Is everything all right?
Everything's fine.
Okay,
Just,
good.
important call. Ran a little bit as it was going on, I'm like, this is going to run longer than it should. I
Yeah.
know it's going to run longer than it should. I gave you both a heads up, and I appreciate you both being patient with me. And thank you for listening this afternoon. Appreciate you checking us out on the YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. You mentioned our X handle at The Fan Rochester, and, of course, the free-to-download Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps as well. We continue in the sports bar next, our trade deadline episode with Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard covering the Buffalo Bills. Next on The Fan.
You're listening to Sports Update.
NFL trade deadline coming up at 4 o'clock, and no, the Bills have not made a move, not yet anyways. The Jets, however, having a fire sale this afternoon. Sauce Gardner going to the Colts. The corner goes for 2 first-round picks and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. Quinnen Williams, who was the 3rd overall pick once upon a time, goes to the Dallas Cowboys, this for a first and a second. Add it all up, the Jets have 3 first-round picks now in 2027. Seattle, they're the ones who gets wide receiver Rashid Shaheed. He goes to the Seattle Seahawks from the Saints for a 4th and a 5th-round pick. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post Standard in the Shout podcast to join us next. We got Sabres hockey tonight. Team looking to make it 2 in a row. They take on Utah. Our coverage will begin at 7. Emmerich home tomorrow night against Syracuse. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I kind of have some conversations with Brandon. He really runs the point on it. So, he'll brief me on some things, maybe some thoughts, maybe some kind of irons in the fire that he wants my opinion on. So, or he'll have me look at someone or a couple of guys. So that's kind of my involvement on it.
There's Sean McDermott, today being trade deadline day, and we're just over half an hour away from the trade deadline here in the NFL. We welcome in Matt Perino, the Syracuse Post Standard. You can read his work at syracuse.com. Also, the Shout podcast, and I just wanted to get your reaction to the rumor that's out there, courtesy of Tim Graham, Matt, that suggests that it's Deebo Samuel potentially and or Von Miller coming to the Bills prior to the trade deadline, and a corresponding report that's out right now from Ian Rappaport saying that the Commanders are signing wide receiver Treylon Burks to their 53-man roster. We don't have anything official from the Bills. We've got about a half an hour left to go. What's your reaction to all of this?
Yeah, a lot to digest there, because I think at first sight, Deebo Samuel, adding him to this offense doesn't seem to make a ton of sense, only from the perspective that he seems to do where he's best suited. They've got guys in those spots already, right? Like, he's not somebody that I think is going to win one-on-one consistently at this stage of his career on the outside. Now, maybe the Bills have looked at the 2025 tape and they've seen something different. I think the other big concern is his inability to stay healthy. I think that's why San Francisco ultimately decided to move on, and he got the deal that he got in Washington. He's had a couple of highlights this year. His stats actually are very similar to Rashid Shaheed's if you put them side by side in 2025. And he had one highlight against Atlanta, whenever it was, on a throw from Marcus Mariota running down the left sideline where, all right, like if he's got that kind of juice to potentially add that into the mix. I mean, don't get it twisted. 2-3 years ago, Deebo Samuel, in terms of like a weapon to add to your offense, that's got to be exciting. I just don't know if he's necessarily that same player. And, you start to think about him and Von at this stage of his career, and then also Joey Bosa, who to me is as important, probably not as important as Josh Allen at this point, but just a very small tier below in terms of what he means to a long playoff run for this team. He's number 2 in the NFL right now in pass rush win rate at 18.86%, behind only Will Anderson of the Houston Texans. So from a percentage standpoint, he's not playing as many snaps. I think he's probably got about 50 less pass rush snaps this year than Anderson, but he is winning consistently and being a threat and somebody that, teams have to game plan against. And that's what we talked about all offseason long, is how are the Bills going to add a game wrecker? They've added him. That's Joey Bosa, this version of him. But if he gets hurt, that changes the math a little bit. And, Von was fine last year, and he's been fine this year. I mean, he's got like 19 pressures in a limited role. I think thinking about like what you can do with him potentially in packages, I think you get excited about that. Just a lot of questions. This isn't like the big swing that I think a lot of fans were hoping for. But, when you look at the numbers, and they restructured Taron Johnson to add a $1.75 million yesterday, that puts them up around $3 million in cap space. There's just limitations into what you can do in terms of what you can bring back. There's some big names out there, But unless that other team is willing to eat the majority of this year's cap hit, it's going to be hard to onboard those contracts.
We were talking earlier about Rashid Shaheed going from the New Orleans Saints to Seattle for a fourth and a fifth. Do you think that was perhaps in play, and it might have been just too rich if that was the asking price? The Bills would have bumped that up for a third man. To me, Shaheed felt like a guy that would have brought a different skill set to this Bills offense.
Yeah, I think that probably, and we will know for sure once we get a chance to talk to Brandon if a deal is done and he has a press conference. But my guess would be that was a lot to ask for a potential rental without knowing how that would fit into your offense. I would argue that his specific skill set and speed, winning in terms of what he can do on the outside, would really potentially benefit like a Keon Coleman or even Josh Palmer when he's out there with him because of the differences in their games. But I just think if it's not for a big swing like an Olave or a Waddle or one of those caliber of players, I don't necessarily know that Brandon probably wanted to take that kind of a swing with the draft capital. And to me, if you end up like, let's see if this deal ends up going through with Debo and or Vaughn, and we look at the compensation and it's much lower, I think that you can square that. Like if you end up just trading a sixth for maybe Debo and Vaughn, a sixth and a seventh or something like that, or maybe a sixth and a future sixth, as opposed to the fourth and the fifth that you gave up for Shaheed. To me, I'd like that deal a whole lot better because it also gives you an additional piece on your defensive line that doesn't have to learn the system. Like what you're getting in Vaughn, and I would argue as just a pure pass rusher, adding him I would be almost more excited about that potential on this specific defensive line with what they've done than I would be for the offensive addition, maybe even more so than had they had added a Shaheed. I think out of the three players, Vaughn would get me the most excited.
Interesting. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, joining us here on Trade Deadline Day, the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. I think one thing you could see, though, when you look around the NFL at the trade deadline here, you're seeing a wide variety of players from a wide variety of positions going to teams. So it stands to reason then, Matt, doesn't it, that for whatever reason, one reason or the other, Bean is just not moving on some of these pieces because he values those picks more than he values these players. And when you see a defensive tackle, not that the Jets would do a deal with the Bills, but when you see other defensive tackles or edge rushers or safeties or wide receivers leave, it's just too rich for Brandon Bean's blood, you would think. Or is it just teams not willing to give Buffalo more because Buffalo already has a pretty decent roster?
I don't know, because for if I were to argue that, then I'd probably look at the Eagles prying Jalen Phillips away for a third-round pick from the Dolphins and say, there wasn't any issue giving him hit. I mean, I would argue that so far he's been the best pass rusher to move ahead of the deadline, outside of Micah Parsons, obviously. But in terms of the last week or so. So I don't know if it's necessarily that. I do know that Brandon Bean is a hardcore negotiator, right? Like he doesn't want to give up more than he has to. He does like having the ability to replenish the roster, with a $60 million per season quarterback on the roster through the draft. And I think that you can make an argument with the last couple of games and what we've seen from some of these young players. Some of the narrative around his recent draft performance is changing a little bit. I mean, that Cole Bishop performance, guys, against the Kansas City Chiefs, I know we haven't talked about the Chiefs game yet. I mean, that was about as good of a defensive secondary performance singularly that I can remember, in the last couple of seasons from anybody. And that includes Christian Benford, who's had a couple of really good games. Like he made impact plays, drive-stopping plays against a Kansas City offense leading up to that game that everybody thought was going to torch this Bills defense. And, if they've hit on Cole Bishop now, that's massive. And so I think that, Osiris Torrance a couple of years ago in the second round, Dalton Kincaid has been the best receiving tight end in the NFL by some advanced metrics this season. I mean, the narratives are starting to change a little bit. So I wouldn't blame Brandon Bean necessarily if he says, hey, I'm not going to get rid of the entire cupboard's worth of draft picks for either A, rental, or B, somebody that, in the case of Olave, as much as I've argued for that deal, there are some concerns about the concussion history. I would have some concerns about what a long-term extension would look like on the other side of things. It's not just about onboarding the contract this year. It's how is that going to fit into the next couple of years, and is that where you want to – I would – it doesn't help this year, and maybe they should have done something differently in the offseason to bring in a different player. I mean, I think that they had high hopes for Josh Palmer. We'll see how that materializes once he gets back. But, I do like the idea of being aggressive at wide receiver in the draft to get those cost-controlled contracts as you develop players. It's just they haven't been able to hit on those guys yet. And I do think probably in the back of their mind, hearing Joe Brady talk about Gabe Davis yesterday, and I think people think back to their time together and Gabe Davis not kind of being up and down on the stat sheet and maybe not in favor with Joe Brady, or at least that was the perception. Brady raved about Gabe Davis, his unselfishness. He had a couple 100-yard games, but then a bunch of games where he didn't get any targets. And that's because depending on the game plan, they're going to ask him to do what he does really well, and that's block. And sometimes that's going to mean you're not a big part of the passing game, where the passing game isn't a big part of the game plan. And so I think all of those things are at play. It's trying to take into future considerations. How are you going to inject a player into what you're already doing? And I know fans don't want to hear that, because it's like, go get a good player, and especially when it comes to Josh Allen, add more good players around him and worry about the rest later. But I definitely think that he's probably a little bit scared off of going out and making a Nyheim Hines-style move. Remember, I think they gave a third for Hines when they traded for him. I can't remember now if it was a third for Douglas. I can't remember the compensation. But whatever the case may be, there were high hopes for what Hines was going to be in this offense, and he couldn't get on the field. And I think he's got a little bit of maybe PTSD about that, and not wanting to go out and add a guy if you don't have a role for him, or maybe the compensation to acquire them is something that you can square.
It was a conditional sixth, and I don't know what that ended up being, and Zach Moss. You forget it.
All right.
Part of that trade, too. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard Shop podcast. We're keeping an eye, Matt, on certainly the Twitter, the wire here, everything. Your thoughts here too about and certainly Cole Bishop's arrival. Your headline story in that secondary. Maxwell Hairston showing up the way he did. How does this kind of look forward, for you, Hairston? Is it a timeshare with Tre'Davious White? Could we see a little bit more? And for that matter, does kind of a platoon make sense in the spot for Jordan Poyer and running downs, and maybe getting Hancock a little more week by week here?
Yeah, I think what they've landed on it with Poyer and Hancock works for now. I think if you get in a situation where a team decides to maybe go no huddle, you can, pivot, and whoever's on the field, you let them kind of roll. I like that platoon a little bit more than I like long-term the Hairston Trey model. It's hard because Trey's, has it always been great since he took over as the starter when he came back from injury? No, but I think he's actually been pretty solid. When you think about where the expectations were in the summer and the spring, I think he's exceeded expectations. So I think it's got to be a delicate thing. You bring him back. He's a locker room guy. He's had a great impact on Hairston. Handling that delicately is important. But at the same time, you have this burgeoning, energetic, playmaking, speedy cornerback that I almost feel like you have to get out on the field. You want him to go through all of the NFL, get all the NFL game reps that he can get before the playoffs start. And I think it's been trial by fire. I think the way that he performed in that Chiefs game gets you so excited if you're Bobby Babich and Sean McDermott. So I would think that we'd be probably closer to him taking over full time. But you also got to see how do the injuries stack up here. I mean, Christian Benford went down in the playoffs last year. We could be looking at some point, if Benford gets dinged up, a Hairston White cornerback duo. The outlook on Dorian Strong doesn't seem to be too good. Sean McDermott said yesterday that he's dealing with a neck injury that they're not getting good news about. He didn't want to put a specific timeline on it, but I would probably rule him out for the foreseeable future, if not all of this season. And, it was ominous the way that he talked about it, to be honest with you. You start to wonder, like, man, could this be like career threatening? So we'll see as more news comes out on the Dorian Strong front. But in terms of what they have right now, they're coming off of a game where all 6 of their defensive backs, more so than maybe any other, as good as Cole Bishop played, I was so impressed with Cam Lewis. Like, This is a guy that behind the scenes, all he probably thinks to himself is, I could start on 15 to 20 teams in this league at slot cornerback. But you're here, you're in a winning program, you went to UB, you are this chess piece, they love you, they treat you well, and when you get given these opportunities, you go out and make the most of them. He's a great piece to it, but it's like, at the same time, you feel for that guy, because you almost wonder if what we saw out of him against the Chiefs was that not better than what we've seen from Taron Johnson this season? And so that's another thing when you're dealing with somebody that's behind a starter that might give you even more than the established player. I think of a Terrell Bernard, Shaq Thompson, or a Dorian Williams, Matt Milano. There's a couple of those scenarios that the Bills decision makers have to kind of deal with right now. And it's a good problem to have. I mean, coming off a defensive performance like that, you're not going to complain about anything, but there are going to have to be some decisions that are made over the next couple of weeks.
It was week 3 on a Thursday night that the Bills beat the Dolphins by 10 points. It didn't feel – I mean, I think we were all satisfied, obviously, with the win, but it didn't feel like the Bills were totally in control of that game, if I remember correctly, Matt. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But we see how quickly things change in the NFL, and well, the Dolphins have not had the season they expected. They fire their GM. Not that that's going to have anything to do with what the players are. I'm just wondering. I feel like everybody's going to predict the Bills to beat the Dolphins on Sunday afternoon. Just how much are they going to beat the Dolphins by?
Right. And the other thing is, like, you got some pieces moving out over there. Phillips went. You wonder if Chubb will go, and if he goes, I mean, there's not going to be a lot left on that defensive line. Tua. The offensively right now, it just looks so hard for them. I mean, even as they were playing well on Thursday night last week, I thought, they came out, they were moving the ball, and just operationally, it just doesn't seem like there's any leadership in that building. Like, I think this could be one of those games where the Bills just control the game, and it's a continuation of, you kind of wonder, like, with the pressure that the Bills just put on Patrick Mahomes, is Tua in for a very, very long day. So, yeah, I think that's going to be you got to be careful. You got to guard against maybe not showing up for a game like that, coming off of the elation of beating the Chiefs, which I still think inside their building, I mean, that's about as big of a win as you can get in the regular season. I know the outside narrative and the national narrative is like, okay, do it in January, and rightfully so. But I think you have to guard against that. Like, going on the road against a division opponent who – their season's probably over, but this is one of the premier games left on their schedule that they'll probably come out and try to show up for. I just don't know if they have enough horses.
And Tua was, if I remember right, he was good in that game against the Bills week 3. It was the Bernard interception late that kind of sealed it, and you're just holding your breath waiting for Tua to make the inevitable mistake. He is Thanos. He is inevitable. And, boy, if they put the pressure on him like they did on Mahomes, we could see a turnover bonanza on Sunday.
For sure. And, I also think that was a different version of this defense. I mean, Taylor Rapp was hobbling around. Obviously, they didn't have, they didn't have Oliver, which they won't have, but they didn't have Ogunjobi either, who I think has brought a really nice steadying force to this thing. I've been really impressed with Javon Solomon, guys. Like, even before Hoyt, like, if you go back and watch some of his snaps before Hoyt came back, and you could see kind of some flashes of the kind of juice he brings on passing downs from the inside. Like, that's something they were, like, starting to sprinkle in before Hoyt even got back, and now they're obviously going to ask him to do a lot more of that. They're excited about that. Walker's been, he has just been a savior for them on the defensive line. And if they don't go out and add a defensive tackle, I think a big reason why is because of what Walker has become for them. He's also in the mix in terms of, like, importance to this defense and importance to this team making a run, him staying healthy and being able to play at the clip that he's played. Every week it seems like, from Solak to Baldinger to Cosell, somebody's sharing a clip where on X or social media about Deion Walker winning a one-on-one or standing up against a double team against the run or tackle for a loss. He's been great. And I think in the back of their minds, they're wondering if, you think about these guys that have to deal with rookie year walls. TJ Sanders didn't have to deal with that because he's been out for half the season. And I wonder if you get him back and you're playing as well as you are up front with Bosa, Epinesa, and Rousseau all playing at a really high level led by Bosa, if you can't sneak Sanders back into the mix as like D lineman number 8 or 9 and get some juice from him on passing downs, because that's what they drafted him to be. If you remember Brandon talking about him, it was all going to be about third down, long passing downs, rushing next to Ed Oliver. I think they're hoping for TJ Sanders to maybe come back and add a little bit more juice to that thing as well.
Matt Perino, last one, 30 seconds here for you. Is it a moral victory, a small victory if the Patriots and the Chiefs end up not doing anything? If the Bills don't do anything, at least they're not going to be losing ground in that area. And I'm bringing this up because Schefter just put out there that A.J. Brown will not be dealt by the Eagles. That would have been a long shot, but I had always feared that New England offense, should they add something like that opposite Steph Diggs.
Yeah, I think probably it's good because I think I saw something put out today that the Patriots have the easiest schedule remaining in the NFL, and sitting there at 7-2, I know the Bills still play them. That's going to be. I don't know how they don't finish with at least 11 wins at this point, and you could maybe even sneak to 12 or 13 based on that schedule that they have now. It's going to get tougher for Drake May. Like, I don't know if I believe in that offensive line to hold up through the stretch run of the season. Like, week 1 through 10, guys, I mean, we do this dance every year. We overreact to early starts. We saw I almost wonder if the Colts didn't take a look at that Steelers outcome and say, hey, we got to do something big, because this was, this did not look good and did not look like the first 8 weeks of the season. When you start getting into the late season matchups against good defenses, things change, or even against, when teams have more tape on you. So I still am a little bit bearish on the Patriots being like this Super Bowl contender that I think a lot of people are trying to push, but they're a good team. They're a playoff team, bona fide playoff team. They're a threat to win the division because of their schedule. And the Bills are going to have to take care of business when they go up there. I mean, that's going to be about as fun of a division game as probably the biggest division game since the Aaron Rodgers running out of the tunnel with the flag Jets opener when they were supposed to win the Super Bowl. That's probably the last big time AFC East game. That's going to be a fun one.
How's the wheel, Matt? You up for a pod this week? You no days off when you're Matt Perino, I'm sure.
Dude, I'm so mad at myself. I've been swearing under my breath all day. Yesterday was so good. I was starting to take some steps. Without the crutches, and right before I was going to go to bed, I went to go put my pants on, or take my pants off, and TMI, sorry. And I got one leg out, and then I balanced to take the other one off and put all my weight on the bed wheel. Immediately popped up. It started swelling again. So I've been icing it all day today. It's feeling a little bit better now. I've had it in the ice bath all day. But, man, I'm so bummed because it looked like we were turning a corner, and now I'm going to be back in the boot. I know it. It's tough.
Oh, man. Well, safe travels, Matt. Appreciate your time on a busy day here, and we still have a few more minutes. Thanks so much, Matt.
All right, guys. Take care.
There's Matt Perino. He covers the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. You could hear him on the Shout podcast with Ryan Talbot as well. No official word yet, but I did see this cross my feed, according to Reception Perception. Deebo Samuel, 39.7% success rate against man coverage. Terrible. Terrible against man coverage. I think what you have, if you were to bring somebody like that in, is a very similar skill set to what you have already in Khalil Shakir, and maybe not as quick.
When I think of Samuel, I think of somebody that's physical, and if they want to kind of beef up on that, but it doesn't seem like that's somebody that at this stage of his career you're going to game plan for. Again, the field stretcher, he goes to Seattle. Shaheed.
Yeah.
Olave still in New Orleans. There's a report from Rossini that the Jets will not be trading their wide receiver, Garrett Wilson.
And A.J. Brown is not leaving Philadelphia, according to Schefter as well.
Could we get Harrison Phillips for a late round
I
pick
don't
swap?
want. We're good. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. You just want to see something happen just for the sake of saying, oh, something happened.
Isn't that what we're all like waiting for here? The Bills do have an open spot on the roster, Danger. They did have to place Hoyt on the IR there. So, and they did free up some cap space. By freeing up the cap space, that raised our expectation today.
Yep, it certainly got everybody's ears perked up a little bit, yet here we are, 9 minutes away from the trade deadline in the NFL.
9 times.
And we don't have a word yet from the Buffalo Bills. And I don't think it's for a lack of trying. I just don't think we have anything yet to report. And when we do, if we do, we'll get it on the air as soon as possible.
Yeah, you don't have to hit refresh. We'll jump right in for you. Just keep us plugged in.
We're going to take a break. Gene will have these updates in his sports update. And we will also give you our Week 10. Can't believe it's Week 10 already, by the way. Week 10 already.
Halfway point we just passed.
This is nuts.
No.
It's too fleeting. Week 10, Survive and Advance pick. Coming up next in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
950 The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
It's 4:02 p.m. That's your time check, and the Buffalo Bills did not make a deal, and there's a report just coming over right now that the Washington Commanders officially not making a deal, so any rumor of Deebo Samuel getting traded to Buffalo will not be happening. The Jets, we do know this. The Jets were big sellers today. Sauce Gardner goes to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. Quinnen Williams goes to the Cowboys. This for a first and a second. Seattle, the Seahawks get wide receiver Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. This for a 4th and a 5th-round pick. We'll talk some fantasy later this hour. Michael F. Florio from the NFL Network will join us. It's a homecoming tonight for J.J. Peterka. He returns with the Utah Mammoth. Their first ever visit to Buffalo, 7 o'clock for our coverage. Amherst home tomorrow night against Syracuse. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
The NFL trade deadline has officially passed at 4:03. But as our friend Chris Trapasso points out, if you all remember the Kelvin Benjamin trade, that didn't get announced until 4:13 by Adam Schefter that year. So is that, do you still hold out hope that something is going to get done, that Brandon Beane does have a deal out there that he just hasn't gotten to the media goombas yet? I'm not feeling great about it, Gino. There have been a lot of moves today. The Bills, as of right now, not involved in any of them.
It's we did have one under the wire here, and the Chargers needed offensive line help. Trevor Penning was with the Saints. He goes to the Chargers now. That's an offensive lineman, which that's not a need in Buffalo. Wasn't on our radar, but I think there was one last second trade. 6 trades today, Danger. That's when we started the show, it was a big old fat 0. At least NFL GMs are realizing, hey, if it's not happening for us, let's kind of move on. And I applaud what the Jets did today. I think that was just smart business. They don't have a quarterback. Will they be in a position next year? They certainly could be in a great position in 2027. Until you find the guy, all this other stuff, your Sauce Gardner, your Quinnen Williams, what are you doing? You're a bad team, right? Mm-hmm. So just go and do what you can to find that quarterback. I don't know if the head coach is going to be there. I'm a little stunned there wasn't like the minor move, because there's a Bills team right now, Danger, that has a lot of injury concern at like a lot of different positions, and the Bills have been deep. I think depth would have been welcome here. So, and again, maybe we're going to get the announcement here in the next 10 minutes or so, but I keep hitting refresh. I'm not seeing anything here.
Same. But it was fun. We had that hour where we could talk about Deebo Samuel potentially coming to the Buffalo Bills. You know, that active or that open roster spot that the Bills have.
It's Gabe Davis.
Gene, I want to brighten your day up. Can we change the mood a little bit?
It's that time.
It's time. Let's go. And because look, Survivor football is not for the faint of heart. We acknowledge that here in the sports bar. We're passionate about it. We love this game. We love Survivor football. You'd think it'd be easy. You'd be wrong. The rule is simple. You pick one winner each week, and you're not allowed to pick that winner for the rest of the season. And now, 9 weeks into the NFL season.
9 times.
I think we've faced our first true challenging week in determining a winner when you apply all of our rules and all of our filters. Now, Gino, this is our feature here in the sports bar. I can't do it alone, buddy. I know that you have exquisite passion for Survivor football, but I need your insight. I need your input. I need your rules. Will you do the honors of laying out the rules?
All
please.
Right. So the rules, and again, it's more, let's do this by process of elimination. Let's not get cute here with the rules. we don't want to take divisional games. I think that's really at the top. We don't want to take road teams. All right, we want to avoid that. Vegas knows more than you and I. And you listening right now, it's a fact. So we go by their line. Got to be north of 5. Anything less than 5 is risky. Rule number 4, this is in caps, no savers. Savers are losers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna save my pick. Yeah, then you're gonna be out. Don't do that. We're not worried. Are we worried about week 11 right now, Danger? No.
Nope, just week 10.
Hedgers are losers. This is more for the beginning of your pool, but how satisfying is that Mike Danger is still going here? Did you put in multiple picks, Danger?
Just one.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah.
Always just one.
Rule number 6, and this is crystal clear. Bad defenses are bad plays. No way do I want the Dallas Cowboys at any point this season.
No, you
no
don't feel
way
like
would you want
Cincinnati?
Cincinnati. No, absolutely not. Imagine people that took Cincinnati over the Jets. No, bad defense. Avoid it. 7, avoid the team that's playing at home for the second consecutive week. 8, no shame in picking against the bad team week after week. And rule number 9, don't look at the rest of your pool and go for the kill shot here. You run your race, okay? We're doing this on our time. That's the new cliche in sports, by the way, Danger. Whether it's a hockey team, a football team, like, hey, what do you think about this opponent? Well, I'm not really concerned about that. You heard Dak Prescott last night say that. We're not really concerned about the Cardinals. We're a little more concerned about us. Well, okay, maybe that's not a good example there. Teams we can't choose, Danger, and then I'll turn the baton back to you. We can't use Denver. That was a pick against Tennessee. Baltimore, before they went on their tailspin. Tampa Bay, Buffalo. This is where our roads diverge. I got knocked out thanks to DeMercado of Arizona fumbling that ball. You took Detroit. You took Green Bay. You took Chicago. You took Kansas City. And just how relaxing was that for you watching the Rams?
Didn't even think about it. I'm like, that was the easiest pick we made this season. And it's ironic because I feel like this week, it's not fun and games. This week might be the hardest pick that we've had to make so far this season. You've got a lot of divisional games here in Week 10. Raiders, Broncos on Thursday. Bills, Dolphins. Jags, Texans. Saints, Panthers. Cardinals, Seahawks. Rams, Niners. There's a lot to chew on here. We may revisit a game or two. We may consider breaking a rule with one of these divisional games. Some of these teams we're going to stay away from. There's no chance that we're taking the Raiders to upset the Broncos on Thursday night. The Dolphins aren't beating the Bills at home. This is why we avoid divisional games, familiar opponents. Weird things can happen. Let's cross off road favorites going into Week 10. Well, any road favorite that we have in Week 10 isn't really an option anyways because we took Baltimore in Week 2. Their favorite in Minnesota. The Lions were the second largest spread of the week in Washington. We took Detroit in Week 5. The Rams, not only facing a divisional rival in the Niners, they're also favored by 3.5 on the road. They were our Week 9 pick, as we mentioned earlier. The same is true, of course, with the Bills giving Miami 9.5. That is the largest spread, tied for the largest spread on the board. We're going to cross off small favorites. We can't take the Bears, but they're favored by 3.5 over the Giants. The Jets, the Jets are giving Cleveland a 1.5.
Oh.
Just a disgusting game.
This is the example, right? Well, my only chance to pick the Jets. No, avoid that.
My only chance to take the Browns. I don't want anything to do with it, although the Browns have a decent defense.
Here's the funny thing. Last couple hours, it's gone now the other direction. Cleveland minus 2.5. So
still a small favorite.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and cross that one off. Houston, in a divisional game with Jacksonville, favored by 1.5. The Bucs are 2.5-point home favorites against New England. The Chargers favored by 3.5. They're hosting Pittsburgh. The Packers are giving Philly 2.5 at Lambeau on Monday night. Lots of small favorites. Like I said, this is our most challenging week to date. Frankly, too many options here. There's a lot of rules broken if we take any of the games that I've mentioned. There is one game that we haven't discussed yet, and that's because it's a neutral site game. It's in Berlin. Take German in high school? I took 1 year of German. You know what I remember? Mein Hut, der hat drei Ecken. It was a song that translates to, my hat has 3 corners. I just throw it out every now and then. That's what I remember from 1 year of German in middle school.
Okay.
Mein Hut, der hat drei Ecken. So they're in Germany. This game is in Germany. It's a neutral site game in Berlin. The Colts are the quote-unquote home team against the Falcons, and they're favored by 6.5 on a neutral field. Gino, I ask you, what is up with this game? What is up with this line? Because if you had this spread and it were being played at Lucas Oil Stadium, we would not hesitate to take the Colts in this spot, will we not?
This looks like kind of the reverse trap, right? That we're thinking, what's the public going to think? That's too many points here for the Falcons. The Falcons are a good team. We have the image of them playing against Buffalo. But are the Falcons really a good team? Are we going to get to the end of the season like, oh, the Bills lost to that? Yeah, like that seems like we were all kind of overvaluing.
I think they have some
defense.
really good players.
Yep.
But I don't know that they're a good team. They're kind of Jekyll and Hyde. I really don't know what Atlanta is. Here's how I'm convincing myself that Indy is the play. That this team just moved 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. The owner might be as neurotic as her old man was. We could debate on who wins that trade, but at the very least, it's sending a message to the locker room that we're going for it, and we're going for it now. It's ballsy, and I like it. I don't expect Indy to be as careless as they were in Pittsburgh last week. I think Daniel Jones, believe it or not, is better than Michael Penix. I think Shane Steichen, future NFL Coach of the Year, by the way, is better than Raheem Morris. Gino, I don't know what to say other than let's do it for the shoe. The Indianapolis Colts, your Week 10 survive and advance winner. We cross our fingers, we book it now, and you can thank us on Monday.
Very straightforward after the last week, L.A., you had the influencer pick.
I couldn't.
You had the Chiefs music. You had the Bears music. What would be like the Indianapolis?
The only thing I could think of, and you know, we do Tommy Tells It Like It Is in the break room every Friday, and Ryan Duffy from the Let's Go Duffalo podcast will come in, usually in character of the opponent of the Buffalo Bills. And when it was Indianapolis, when was it Indianapolis?
Last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
He came in as like just a friendly Midwesterner. He was wearing like a T-shirt with a saying on it. And, hi, neighbor. How are you, friend? He was just, you couldn't insult him. He was just very friendly, Midwest, nice guy. And I really don't know what I could have done as far as a character. And do they have a fight song? I don't even know if Indianapolis has a fight song.
Well, the one thing, before somebody points it out, there is that fan who sings songs, for the shoe, and he gets really excited.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
That guy, and I don't want to, I think that's beneath us to make fun, right? So,
I know who you're talking about, but I'm not so familiar with his work that I would want to showcase him as, the face of the Colts.
I don't think we want to do that. Mm-hmm. He's still doing that, by the way.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Indianapolis. I'd be lying to you if I said I was 100% confident in this pick. Last week, 100% confident in the pick. Hell, I even say the last couple of weeks I've been 100% confident in the pick. This pick, I'm crossing my fingers. It's neutral site. It's Berlin. These teams are, both coming off a loss. I want to believe that the Colts, based on what I'm seeing from their metrics, their DVOA, they're better offensively than the Falcons are, and they're kind of the same defensively. So we'll see. That Vegas line of 6.5 for Indianapolis on a neutral field. Too good for me to pass up.
I haven't seen anybody report the official declaration that the Bills did not make a move. But I can tell you this, Danger, the Chiefs didn't make a move.
They did?
Did not.
Did not.
I was worried about Breece Hall. I was worried about Alvin Kamara or offensive line help. We didn't talk, like we were all gaga over the Bills' defense. But
I didn't do a good enough job of articulating this to Perino. But I do think, like, when you're the Bills, when you're the Chiefs, I know that the Eagles got, you could argue, the best pass rusher, and Howie Roseman is a witch. Mm-hmm. I don't know how Howie Roseman conducts himself with other NFL GMs, but somehow he's always able to get a deal done, and it always feels like it favors Philadelphia. He's the best GM in the NFL. I don't know if the rest of the NFL views the Bills and Brandon Beane or Brett Veach and the Chiefs the same way. It's like, no, you guys have had your time. Why would we go out of our way to help you? Why do we need your draft picks that are going to be late in the first, second, third round, et cetera, et cetera? I don't know if that factors into it at all or not, Or maybe Brandon Beane just isn't what Brandon Beane was a few years ago. Maybe Brandon Beane has lost a little something off the fastball. Haters will say that. The haters will put a lot of this on Brandon Beane and say, like, he's just not what we thought he was. He's not that great.
It's a little curious because I think Perino brought up a good point, and it's one game. It's not a real sample size, but, hey, Cam Lewis played really good. And Cam Lewis kind of gets overshadowed in that whole effort by Cole Bishop's monster game and Maxwell Harrison showing up. But it leads to would the Bills actually be better off with Cam Lewis? Would they be better off with Shaq Thompson? Well, the point being that Taron Johnson is the guy that wasn't available, and Taron Johnson is the guy that, well, the Bills are going to be paying a little bit more next year. Like, so what was that all about? What did the Bills have up their sleeve? Why did they feel the need to do that?
Or maybe it just makes maneuvering the rest of the season a little bit easier with the cap. Moving guys down, moving guys up. I don't know. I mean,
that could be it too.
I would love to tell you that I'm a capologist. I'm not. There are a lot smarter people out there with numbers that know or could explain what it means, but I would just assume that if it's not to bring in somebody with that empty roster spot or make a deal, that it would be just to have some flexibility and maneuverability here for the rest of the season. Before we get to Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, you can always engage us on X at the Fan Rochester. That's Elon's Twitter. Our friend Bob sending us this story, Gino. I don't know if this is coming up in shots or not, but Tom Brady apparently has.
This is coming up in shots.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We'll just give you a little tease here. Tom Brady's doing it's either really cool stuff or really weird stuff.
No, I think it's horrifying.
Okay.
I guess this is really going to be a thing, and right now it's only available to aliens, I suppose.
That's right.
Yeah, like
That's
Tom
right.
Brady next is going to be like, okay, can I do this with my organs? I want to live. Tom Brady's going to be like, I want to live forever.
Yeah. We'll dive into that a little bit here later on in a round of shots coming up during happy hour. By the way, plenty of time for your calls this afternoon as well. We'll try to sneak them in here between our guest Mike Leone and Michael F. Florio from NFL Network, who's stopping by both before 5 o'clock. We'll also be joined by RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas before we close up shop at 6. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line is open for you. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Let's do who's hot and who's cold in fantasy football here, and we'll start off with the cold player. Which quarterback danger was fringy top 10, but so far this year, only 3 games with 16 fantasy points. I'll give you the teams he did it against: the Commanders, the lousy Cowboys, and did it on the Steelers against Sunday night. Jordan Love, something is really wrong in Green Bay. I don't know if it's a coaching thing.
It's a coaching thing.
You think so?
I think it's a coaching thing. I love it. I'll be walking through the tunnels around Soldier Field on Sunday chanting Green Bay sucks. It's going to feel so good.
That is a problem in fantasy football. That is the player who is cold.
Yeah.
The player who's hot. And let's give some love here because, no, not Jordan Love. James Cook. He's second right now in the NFL in rushing. Always kind of, don't even think twice about it. He went from a guy that was being drafted in the second round, and right now, could he actually end up with the rushing title?
I imagine there are teams out there that I'm insanely jealous of, that managers out there that found their way into James Cook in round 2 and Jackson Smith and Jigba in round 3. And to you, I tip the cap, I raise a glass, I say, congratulations on your 2025 championship. My teams are terrible this year.
Well, that for me is offset by, hey, the guy drafted late, Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, well, that's the cruel business of fantasy football. Injuries do happen, Gino.
Who's hot and who's cold in fantasy football? It's brought to you by our friends at Heat and Cool. Why Heat and Cool with a K? It's cool with a K because it's cool.
We'll get to more fantasy football with Michael F. Florio, who joins us just before 5 o'clock. Next in the sports bar, we catch up with Amherst head coach Mike Leone. The Amherst back home tomorrow night. And we'll get a little preview of this weekend's action with Coach next on The Fan.
4-6. Odyssey is an equal opportunity employer.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
The 4 p.m. trade deadline has passed, obviously, and the Bills, to our knowledge, did not make a trade today. The Jets were big sellers, however. Sauce Gardner, former first-round pick, he goes to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. Quinnen Williams was the 3rd pick overall a few years back. The defensive lineman going to Dallas, this for a first and a 2nd. A receiver did get traded today as New Orleans gave up wide receiver Rashid Shaheed. He goes to Seattle, this for a 4th and a 5th. We'll talk some fantasy football later this hour. Michael F. Florio from the NFL Network will be joining us. Sabres hockey tonight here on The Fan as Utah comes to the arena for the first time. Amerks home tomorrow night against Syracuse. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone coming up next. Dean Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Tipped it over the line. Here come the Amerks in, and a shot. They score! Off the left wing side, Kuntar picks the lower corner wide side. Kuntar, a great lead-out pass in on the left wing boards, finds the opening, and the Amerks take a 2-1 lead.
It was a scene in Laval Friday night, Halloween, as the Amerks get the win on Friday before dropping and ending their winning streak on Saturday night in Laval as we welcome in head coach Mike Leone to get the latest on the Amerks back home tomorrow night. 7:05 Blue Cross Arena to take on Syracuse. Coach, thanks for making time for us, and wanted to first right out of the gates, discuss a rumor that was going around about Devin Levi, and we've been blessed to be able to watch Devin Levi here at the AHL level for some time, and he's been great for the team. But there was some chatter late last week about Levi requesting to be dealt. Now, it's just chatter, it's just rumors, but we wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah, that's news to me. I haven't heard anything about that. Dev's in a really good place. He's, I think he's excited and looking forward to the development plan that we have for him. I just think it's a lot of noise, to be honest with you. Dev's in a great place. He's playing really good hockey for us. I think Dev's focused on what he needs to keep getting better as a goalie to ultimately get to where he wants to go, and that's the NHL. But, I call it sometimes the keyboard warriors are out there, wreaking havoc. So I try not to pay too much attention to it. I didn't even know about that, to be honest with you. Dev, all I could say is he's in a really good place, and, he'll be ready to go tomorrow night.
Yeah, it was Andrew Peters and Craig Rivet who put that out there, 2 former Sabres. So that's why people are picking up on this and on their podcast. Coach, good week for your team, taking 2 of 3 in Belleville, and then you split in Laval. Your thoughts on the week that was for the Amerks?
Yeah, you know what? Like, looking back, even going before that, to win 3 out of 4 on the road, kind of a grind of a schedule, even going back to Cleveland, we got in really late, around 3 o'clock in the morning. You got to play, give the guys a couple of days off. We're on a bus, play Wednesday on a bus again, play a really good hockey team. And, I really liked the way we played on Saturday as well. It was just one of those nights our special teams were executing at a really high level. There wasn't too many games that we struggled, but we the 5-on-5, it was 1-1, and we gave up 3 power play goals, and then we scored 1 late on the power play, but we had 4 in a row in the second period, and if you get one of those to go up 2-1 or 3-1, I think it changes the landscape of the game. But as far as our team game 5-on-5, I thought we're a lot better team now than we were when we started the season, and we just got to keep getting better. But overall, I was really proud of the group. Obviously, everybody knows there's a lot of guys out of our lineup right now, huge pieces, and
we've been able to find ways to win in a different way. The guys are doing an incredible job defending and really limiting shots. The games that we've won, we do a really good job of keeping the puck to the outside and not getting to those scoring opportunities, those high danger chances. And then when we do give them up, Dev's there or any of our goalies to make the save. So, but we got a really big couple games coming up for sure.
Yeah, and you got a couple of home games here, both tomorrow night and Friday night. Your familiar opponent in Syracuse tomorrow night, and then we see a couple of Atlantic Division opponents here this weekend with Scranton-Wilkes-Barre coming in Friday night before your guys go on the road for a Sunday evening tilt in Hershey. And I know that you and your team isn't going to look ahead to Sunday. You're going to take it one game at a time, but we always see Hershey on the schedule. We circle that, and to use a cliche, it feels like that's a measuring stick game for your team.
You know what? I honestly think they're a really good team this year. They're a lot younger than they were before. I think the landscape of their team. They have a lot more draft picks this year, not as many older players, but I really think the two games that I think Syracuse right now is probably top to bottom playing, like you look at their underlying numbers, they're probably the team that's playing the best in the American Hockey League, and I would say the second best team is probably Wilkes-Barre. Just with how many guys that they have down, with the Pittsburgh Penguins going younger up top. I mean, you have guys on that have played 4 to 5 years in the NHL on their D-core. So it'll be a real test for our group the next couple of games. Syracuse's lineup right now is really good. There's no injuries up top in Tampa Bay, and I would say it's probably the best checking team in the league. And then offensively, in every category, they're number one or number two in the league as far as possession, creating scoring chances, line rushes for, so they could throw a lot at you. They're really organized. A little bit different than they were in years past, just with some of they still have hardness, but they have a lot more sticks. So you throw in the checking plus the offensive side of things. They're really good teams.
Yeah, so you have this road game, an oddball thing on Sunday, 5 o'clock, which, hey, for us locally, we've got the Bills at 1, plenty of time just to tune in for Hershey, right in the middle of the pack in that division. But that is always a team that when it comes to the postseason, this is going back a couple of years, but you had the conference final against Hershey. Hershey didn't make it back there this past year, but certainly a traditional power. What are your thoughts about going down and facing that team once again, Mike?
Yeah, I just think it's anytime you go on the road, you kind of see where your group is. It's a different game on the road. You don't get matchups. Like I said, they're a really good team, but their dynamic is a lot different. They have quite a few younger players playing the lineup where they were, I think they lost 8 players in the off season that went to the Russian league or Switzerland. So it's a different group, but really talented. They play really hard. It'll be a good test for our group to play on the road. You look at some of the road teams we've played, especially going to Laval. I think it's really good. During the season, I think it hardens your group. I think you have to be ready to play, or the outcome is not going to be what you want, especially in those buildings. So it's a really important stretch for our team.
Mike, what about the health of your team right now? Can you share an injury update on any of your players?
Yeah, I'm actually going to Buffalo right now because we got going to support our guys. We got quite a few guys in the lineup tonight, but Carson Myers should be back next week, so that'll be good. Everybody else is healthy. Nadeau's a little banged up. He'll probably be more day-to-day, possibly week-to-week, but it'll be really good to get Carson back. I know he's been waiting. He's a really good player in this league. He has been for a while. He's with Columbus, played some games in the NHL for them. So we'll be really excited to get him back.
Yeah, about the guys you're going to see tonight. So Isak Rosén goes up, which is, That's the end goal, right? Like, you want to promote guys, and he's somebody that I'm sure wasn't happy starting out in Rochester. Got his first NHL goal Saturday night. So your thoughts on that? And also Noah Ostlund gets another opportunity here tonight, assuming he's going back in the lineup here for Buffalo.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for Rosie. I think Rosie's worked really hard on this. Everybody knows the offensive gifts that he has, but I think he's worked really hard away from the puck and his details in this game. Being more of a competitive player, and I don't mean blowing guys up. Rosie's not going to do those things, but he has a way of because he can really skate. He can get on people really quick. He can control, how hard he is on the walls. And I thought that out of the games I've seen since I've been here, I thought it was his best NHL game. And the biggest thing now is to do it consistently. So really looking forward to watching him play tonight, and hopefully he has another good game.
Coach, thanks for the time as always. Best of luck this week. Let's do it again next week. Talk again.
Sounds good. See you guys.
There's Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, with 3 games on tap for this weekend starting tomorrow night. They're live, Blue Cross Arena home game against Syracuse. Wilkes-Barre Scranton, the opponent, Friday night at Blue Cross Arena before they take it to the road and visit Hershey for a Sunday evening 5 o'clock puck drop. You can hear every bit of Amerks action here on the Fan Rochester, your proud home of Rochester Americans hockey.
Friday being youth hockey night, and it's hard for me to wrap my mind around that we are right on the edge here of winter sports season here in high school athletics. Wonder if we'll have some of the players wearing Section 5 jerseys coming in, or maybe youth hockey jerseys. For that matter.
Always a great time. And, man, just a lot of fun. So check out the Amerks this week, either tomorrow night or Friday night, Blue Cross Arena. Great product. They're having a lot of fun and kind of comforting to hear. I mean, I don't know that I would hear anything, but I don't know anything about that rumor. But the Devin Levi rumor that was put out there on the podcast with Reve and with Petey was...
I don't think we can say that's a rumor. They're guys that are podcasting. They're guys who are on a show on WGR. They're former Buffalo Sabres. They know the rules of the road. So if they said they're hearing, well, you're reporting this. So people are saying it's a rumor. No, Reve and Peters put their name on it. They're former Sabres.
They're reporting
that
Devin Levi wanted to trade.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with Levi saying, "Hey, I want to move on, but as long as I'm here, I'm gonna ball out." I didn't expect Leone to dive in. That was kind of what we expected, and I'm glad you went right out of the gate. Let's get this right off the top here.
Well, I think when we talk about Amerks news, when you see something that significant, that happened late last week, and we didn't get a chance to talk to him until every Tuesday. So
no, and what has happened since then, Danger, every team that needs some goaltending help, you look at the Islanders blogs, you look at people that write about the Flyers. Could you make a trade with Buffalo? Now all of a sudden, this is where the rumor crap starts off. You see, hey, we were interested in him. Okay, well, that's a rumor. But again, if those guys said it, I think it happened.
Okay. We got to get to Michael F. Florio, NFL Network. It is waiver day in fantasy football. Week 10 waiver wire report from Michael F. Florio, who will join us next, make some claims, and we'll get his reaction to the trade deadline action that we had today in the NFL as well. Some new faces in new places. What does it mean for your fantasy roster? We'll get to all of it next with Michael F. Florio.
I think we should reset here, too. If you're just kind of driving on, what do the Bills do today? Nothing. Didn't do anything. So it's 4:40. I think the ship has sailed. There's been no official declaration from One Bills Drive.
Nothing that we've seen.
Nothing that we've seen. So, but on the other hand, the Chiefs didn't do anything. The Patriots didn't do anything. It was just the Colts.
Oh, think about this, because one of our favorites, Bruce Nolan, put this out there to his followers on X, and I think it's a great question to ask on a day like today where fans might be salty that the Bills didn't make a move. And we can discuss this when we get to happy hour here in a few minutes at 866-4FAN. Which of the NFL trade deadline deals that you saw completed would you have done if you were Brandon Beane? As they're stated.
That's an easy one.
I think we all know, but
Shaheed.
What would you have done? Would you have made the deal for Quinnen Williams?
A first and a second and you have to throw in somebody else, which the Cowboys had some spare part.
It might be as simple as Shaheed. That might be the answer, but think about it.
Yeah.
And we can discuss it in detail when we get to happy hour here in just a few minutes. Michael F. Flory to talk some fantasy football next on The Fan. Week 10 of fantasy football is on deck. Waiver wire moves, set your roster, get a win. Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, stops by every week at this time to share advice on who to target, who to go after, and who to plug into your lineup. Mike, appreciate the time as always. It's trade deadline day, so we know that you might be extra busy. And the Bills, we know you're Bills Mafia. The Bills not making a move here. I'm sure it's not for a lack of trying. Do you have any initial reaction to Brandon Beane standing pat here at the trade deadline?
My viewpoint now is the same it was before this
Bills-Chiefs game. And the Bills were finally starting to get the vibes back up high with the fan base and stuff after being down for a couple of weeks. I think Brandon Beane's job should be on the line in the next 2 months. If the Bills don't get over the hump and make a Super Bowl, let alone win one, I like, how many bites of the apple are you going to give the same two people? Since Josh Allen has entered his prime, right, in 2020, this is their sixth opportunity at now getting over this hump, and they continue to come up short. And I think a part of why they continue to come up short are days like today, where they have the opportunity to go make a move to better their chances of winning, and they refuse to do so. And like, I agree with you. I think they're going to come out and they're going to say it's no reason. We tried and stuff. It's not from the lack of trying. We have no cap. You know why you have no cap? Because you give bad contracts. Dawson Knox, who has 9 catches, is the second highest cap hit. Curtis Samuel, who has 4 catches, is the 7th highest cap hit. Then he could say the draft picks. Okay, some of your draft picks are looking pretty good right now. A whole bunch more aren't. So, like, I know it's easy to sit here from afar and not be the one on the phone and stuff like that. But when you have Josh Allen and a clear need on both sides of the ball with a year that the AFC is, I would say, more open than it has been in the past, when you have the tiebreaker now over the Chiefs and the Ravens, plus, unlike most other years, you're now in a dogfight for the division, and you can allow games to slip away. And I know it's easy to say they shouldn't do that. They have Josh Allen and their Bills and stuff. We saw against Atlanta, if they fall behind, this team is not built to come back. Like the Ravens, I know they did it in that game. Sure, if they're playing the Bengals or the Cowboys or the Ravens, maybe they're built to come back from behind. But against a competent defense, I worry because they have struggled out wide and downfield to move the ball consistently. I used to feel like 3rd and long, easy. We have Josh Allen. Now if they get stuffed on a first down run, which they run on almost every first down, it feels like, you feel like the whole drive is going to get wrecked then. So, yeah, I mean, I would have loved Olave or one of the bigger names, but Rashid Shaheed went for a 4th and a 5th. Calvin Ridley was available. Even someone like Deebo Samuel, who I don't think was a perfect fit, could help. They're putting all their eggs in the Gabe Davis basket, I guess. If you can't tell, I'm pretty unhappy.
Screw fantasy football. Today. We just want you to fire off Bills takes for the rest of the time on the air with us, Michael. We don't have to talk fantasy football right now. That was fantastic.
Stand back. Listen to the man spit fire. One of the receivers, and it's not Shaheed. I want to start off with Jacoby Myers going from Vegas to Jacksonville. And look, we could talk about the Bills angle there certainly, and would that have been a fit? But just from the fantasy standpoint, oh gosh, is this a Vegas offense that you're just kind of avoiding altogether, the wide receiver position? Is there somebody there that might gobble up targets that we can go get here tonight? And how do you think that actually shakes out now in Jacksonville? Or is it just a sign that, hey, the number 2 overall pick, he's not going to be back anytime soon. Let's go get some help right now.
I first with the Raiders, I think Brock Bowers and Ashton Gentry are the only players that you're getting in your lineup each week from this offense. Trey Tucker now becomes the de facto number 1 wide receiver, but number 2 target, I would imagine, because we know Brock Bowers is going to get all the volume there. Trey Tucker, to me, he kind of enters more of a poor man's version of it, but like the Alec Pierce, the Keyshawn Booties of the world, where the floor is low, but if you're ever in a pinch, you need a flex or one you're dealing with a lot of buys or injuries at wide receiver, you could throw him out there because the ceiling is high, but the floor is very low. I think Jack Besh in like dynasty or deeper redraft leagues is someone you could take a flyer on because he could step up and be the top slot option there. But they did just pick up Tyler Lockett, who Pete Carroll loves. So that even there is just for deep leagues, I would say. As for the Jags, I do have a little bit of concern what this means for Travis Hunter. I also have some concerns about what this means for Brian Thomas Jr. because before Hunter went on IR, they were talking about taking some stuff off of BTJ's plate. Plus, he exited early last week, so we got to kind of wait and see tomorrow. Hopefully, we should have some answers on his health. But as for Jacoby Myers, I'm not really that excited for him in Jacksonville. Yeah, sure, maybe he could be the top slot guy there. I know he's got really reliable hands, but to me, this feels like a better for the Jags real life piece than it does for fantasy. What I think it does more than anything for fantasy is it takes away all the shine that Parker Washington was starting to have. And he was someone that I was excited for last week. But right now, this week, I wouldn't start really any of them outside of maybe Brian Thomas Jr. It's a hard matchup, and we don't know how much Jacoby Myers is going to play and how that's going to factor in to the target.
I was just going to go there because if we're talking about waiver wire pickups here for Week 10, Parker Washington was the one that I had circled to ask about because of the injury to Hunter and seeing what he did last week in that role. But now with Jacoby in there, I mean, Parker was maybe a fringe flex play, would you say? I mean, is he even worth starting this week if you were to make a claim for him?
I picked him up in in a lot of spots actually last week because I had Travis Hunter on a good amount of rosters, and I even started him in one of my deeper leagues, and I thought he was going to become like a weekly flex option, but now you have to worry about Jacoby Myers slotting because he's a good slot option as well, so he could kind of take some of those looks away from Parker Washington. If you're ever going to use him, it feels like this upcoming week would be the week because Jacoby has 5 days now to fly to Jacksonville, meet Trevor Lawrence and his new coaches, learn the playbook. Probably won't see him play the full allotment of snaps this week, but even so, it's a really hard matchup for the Jags. I would be trying to get away from pretty much all the Jags this week outside of maybe Brian Thomas Jr., but I even consider sitting him. Like, he is no longer a must-start to me.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, also part of the Sick podcast, talking Buffalo Bills with Stevie Johnson. He's our guest here in the Sports Bar. What are you hearing, Mike, about the injury to Cooper Kupp? Not that Cooper Kupp is a must-play, but the guy who filled in for him. Hey, Torrey Horton had 2 touchdowns against Washington, and you can't expect that every week, or could you? And how would you think Shaheed, just dealt from New Orleans to Seattle, might fit in? Your thoughts on possible pickup for Horton and the Seahawk passing attack in general?
I was excited to pick up Horton about 4 hours ago because he has the juice, he has the downfield capability, and Sam Darnold and the Seahawks offense are clicking right now downfield. So Horton, I thought, maybe could have usurped Cooper Kupp, whose best days are behind him. Cooper Kupp, though, is a great run blocker. He does all the stuff that NFL coaches love. So I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to see snaps over Horton, especially now with Shaheed there. But my expectation, and I think he could get up to speed even quicker than some of these other receivers that were traded because he knows Clint Kubiak. He has played in this system before and has had success in this system before. So I think he could be up to speed even sooner. And to me, he is their new wide receiver too. I expect him, once he is up to speed, to just play that role. And he will be boom or bust because of the way he's used downfield so much, but he brings a high ceiling each week. And I know there was bigger names out there like Waddle, Olave, and stuff like that, but Shaheed was the one that I wanted, the realistic one that I wanted the most for the Bills because of everything he could bring speed-wise and everything. So not only do I think this helps the Seahawks and Sam Darnold, I think it helps take some attention away from JSN, and even more than anything, I think they have the downfield presence now where it might even open up more underneath and help the running game.
Now, on the opposite side of that matchup this weekend in Seattle, we got word just now as we're talking to you that it'll be Jacoby Brissett starting at quarterback once again, and we saw Marvin Harrison have himself a pretty nice game, albeit against that Cowboys defense. Are you feeling any higher on any of your Cardinals going into this matchup against Seattle?
I think you have to, right? Like, I know Gannon earlier today was like, oh, when he's healthy, Kyler Murray is our starter. I texted someone right away and said, wow, he's not going to be healthy until Jacoby Brissett has a bad game. That's what it feels like to me. And yet, not only are we seeing the best out of Marv in recent weeks with Jacoby Brissett, the narrative that Trey McBride can't score touchdowns is gone. He has more touchdowns in the last 3 games than he does the last 3 years with Kyler Murray. So as much as I like Kyler and as fun as he once was for fantasy, he's no longer that. Like, he himself hasn't scored 19 fantasy points in a game this season. So he's more of a QB2 for fantasy, and then he's not elevating any of the passers around him. I think right now, if you have a Cardinals pass catcher, this is the best case scenario for you. And if you're in like a super flex league or something like that, I do think Jacoby Brissett is an option there because he's not going to give you the running numbers that a Kyler Murray has, but he's giving you much better passing production.
Help us out. Anybody who was a Tucker Kraft owner, Green Bay tight end, out for the year, and now maybe you need to go get a tight end, and maybe you missed the boat on Gadsden. Are we buying in on Colston Loveland at all, or are there any other waiver wire pickups? Because I look at, no offense, Danger, I look at Loveland and thinking, well, they can't play the Bengals every week. Who would you pick up at the tight end position right now?
I do think Loveland is in play. I agree with you. He's not going to do that every week. He's not getting the Bengals every week. But they get the Giants this week, which is another soft defensive matchup. And more than anything, it's taking a gamble on the talent there in the hopes that Ben Johnson, who handpicked Colston Loveland and took him over Tyler Warren, gives him more and more opportunity now that we've seen this breakout game. But he is going to be expensive, I think, on the waiver wire. If you miss out on him, it is a really good week for streaming tight ends. Like Dalton Schultz coming off his best fantasy game of the year gets a strong matchup this week. Cade Otton gets the Patriots, who really haven't been able to contain tight ends this year. We're seeing Theo Johnson come to life more and more, and the Bears aren't the best tight end matchup, but they're not one to be fearful of either. And then, like, deeper options, Mason Taylor, just because someone outside of Garrett Wilson's got to catch the ball. And last but not least, Luke Musgrave. I think Musgrave is more someone you pick up and you see what he becomes if you lost Tucker Kraft. But if you're in a deeper league or something like that, that is another direction you could go.
All right, if you're talking about streaming tight ends, before we let you go, what about streaming defenses? Who's got the favorable matchup that we could pick up here to help increase our odds getting some points out of our team defense?
Yeah, I know the Broncos are heavily rostered, but if by some chance they're out there, I like them. I think the Browns are must-play this week against a Jets team that might be a little depleted this week and not at their highest. I think the Bills are in play, and they're probably out there because they just faced the Chiefs. They've had a lot of success against Miami. The Panthers against the Saints are a sneaky one to me. Tyler Shough, I mean, they only had 10 points last week. No Rashid Shaheed now. And then I originally had the Jets. There's no way I'm trusting the Jets now when they just traded all of their talent away. But the Lions, if you're going a little bit deeper, because Marcus Mariota has had issues with sacks this year. So the Lions, who their pass rush has been better since they've started to get some guys healthy, I very much so think they're in play.
Well, if you missed Michael F. Florio at the beginning of this, just download the Odyssey app. You can go back and listen to the rewind. And, hey, if you want more Mike's Bills takes, tell everybody, not just the work you're doing on NFL Network, but tell everybody about the Sick podcast as well.
Yeah, the Sick podcast with me and Stevie Johnson, Bills Banter. We're going to be changing up when we come out now. Every Thursday, you can catch us live on my Twitter, Stevie's Twitter, the Bills, our show's Twitter, and then it'll come out like it normally does on pods and YouTube and stuff. But if you want to join in live and call us and give us how frustrated you are with Brandon Beane today, every Thursday is your opportunity. And then, yeah, NFL Network, Fantasy Live, Insiders, the Fantasy Football Show, Stardom Situm, Roto-Baller, a lot of different places you can catch my work. And you guys sure you don't want me to just rant about the Bills for another 30 minutes? Because I'm sure I could.
I love it, man. That was some epic takery right there. That was just one after the other. In fact, Fuel for Happy Hour, which we have coming up next. Mike, always appreciate the time. Always appreciate the insight. Talk to you again next week.
Sounds good. Go Bills.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network. Bills fan.
This from Diana Rossini. This is going to make you laugh. Reaction from a league source to the Jets' 2 deadline day trades. Quote, they took a top 5 defense and tore it apart.
Yeah.
What? You had one win. It was against the Bengals. And the Bengals put up, 38 points? A top 5 defense. Okay, who was the...
Did Aaron Glenn get to Diana Rossini? Is that what happened here today?
I think it's just Rex, maybe. Maybe Rex was just kind of saying, hey, that was a really good defense.
Yeah.
He's kneeling Rossini.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody gives you that quote anonymously, just be like, no, you got to put your name to it. I'm sorry. That's not a top 5 defense.
Well, they are the headline today. The Jets have acquired several first-round draft picks, couple of players, and they moved on from some familiar names. The New York Jets kind of packing it in here at the trade deadline. Meanwhile, as if you heard Michael F. Florio, Brandon Beane. Is Brandon Beane on notice? If you were Brandon Beane, if you were an NFL GM, which of the deals would you have been good with the Bills making? I think it's a worthy question to ask. And you can join us at 866-4326 and share your thoughts. Which of the NFL trade deadline deals that were completed and reasonably could have been done by the Bills would you have done if you were Brandon Beane? I love that question. One of our favorites, Bruce Nolan, put it out there a little while ago. And maybe you have the same kind of feeling that Michael F. Florio has. Brandon Beane is on notice. These two guys are on notice. We'll see. 866-4326 is the phone number. Happy Hour is next. We'll recap everything from the NFL trade line that has passed now just over an hour ago. And your calls as well at 866-4FAN.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger. HD2 Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
No, the Buffalo Bills did not make a trade at the deadline. They stand pat. The team that did moving, a lot of it, the New York Jets, they had a fire sale today. Sauce Gardner going to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. Quinnen Williams goes to the Dallas Cowboys, this for a first and a second-round pick. The Jets now with 2 firsts in 2026, 3 firsts in 2027. Seattle gets wide receiver Rashid Shaheed from the Saints, this for a 4th and a 5th. Jacoby Myers goes from Las Vegas to Jacksonville. Hockey tonight here on The Fan. J.J. Peterka returning to Buffalo. He's now with Utah. Sabres in Utah. Our coverage will begin at 7. Rochester Americans, they're back home tomorrow night and Friday night as well. Tomorrow night's opponent is Syracuse. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
The NFL trade deadline has come and gone, and the Buffalo Bills stand pat, as you heard Gino mention in his sports update, as we welcome you back into the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. It is happy hour. We're glad you're with us. Thanks for watching on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, also listening along in the free-to-download Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. If you missed our conversation with Bills beat reporter Matt Perino from earlier this afternoon, find that wherever you get your shows. Just search out the sports bar.
Yeah, as when we got off the air last night, the Bills restructured Taron Johnson. This frees up some cap space. Okay, here we go.
I had wings last night, and my buddy brought it up to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? I had no idea that the Bills made that move. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. Maybe they are making a deal here at the deadline.
My expectation was get somebody who will play meaningful snaps. I didn't think the Bills would be in the market for somebody like Sauce Gardner. That would have taken a lot of finagling. And for that matter, I don't think the Jets would want to send him in division. That was the shocking move today. Quinnen Williams getting traded to Dallas, that would have been a nice piece in Buffalo too. But same sort of deal where the Jets are really going to trade with a divisional rival. It was the Shaheed move for a 4th and a 5th that kind of stinks. Jacoby Myers, again, going for a few mid-round picks. These are the type of moves that I thought maybe the Bills should have been in on. And the fact that they restructured Taron Johnson when they did, Danger, tells me, hey, they were trying to do something today. It just didn't happen. We also had this report from Tim Graham, and I think about it now, I'm like, okay, I'm actually kind of glad that the Bills and Commanders didn't pull this off.
Yeah, right, because the rumor was it would have been Von Miller back with the Bills and Deebo Samuel, which feels a little redundant, but that deal doesn't happen. And so the Bills don't make a move at the trade deadline. We got your reactions at 866-4326. And the question that I like that's being asked is, of all of these deals that could have been done by the Bills, what would you have done if you were Brandon Beane? And I know your answer, Gino. I think everybody's answer. Most people would say Shaheed. Easily Shaheed. And then my question back would be, would you give a third for Shaheed? Because that is what it would have taken for Brandon Beane to get that deal done. Would you have given up a 3rd-round draft pick for Rashid Shaheed?
You could have split the difference, a 3rd pick swap sort of thing. That's it, like kind of what they did before with Rasul Douglas. So to answer your question, if it were, it was a 3rd and a pick swap where the Bills are moving up from the 5th to a 4th, let's say, yes, I would have done that. But maybe that wasn't even on the table. The Saints like the move. Olave, by the way, stays in New Orleans.
Yeah. Yeah, I look at the Shaheed deal, and that was the player that I think we spent more time talking about leading up to the trade deadline than any other wide receiver that was out there. I mean, there's always the talk of a bigger fish, but Shaheed brought something to the offense that they don't really have, a true field stretcher. And you could argue that right now, without having seen him in a Bills uniform, that Shaheed would have been a better fit in this offense than Elijah Moore, than Curtis Samuel, and certainly a better kick returner than anybody that they have on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, I like I like Khalil Shakir as a punt returner, but you know what? I don't need him doing that necessarily. I think that would have been a really nice pickup. Now, if I can put a happy face on this for Bills fans, okay, yes, the Colts made a big move. No one else did in the AFC. I thought Kansas City, this would be their day to go shopping. That's a team that's behind the Buffalo Bills in the standings. What did they do? They need some depth on the offensive line. They need a running back. They need other things. They didn't do anything. What about the Patriots? Hey, the Patriots. What is it, $54 million in cap space? You didn't spend any of this today? If I'm in New England, I'm like, okay, when is this going to come around again? We've got a young quarterback. Like, that would have been the thing. They should have bought back Myers. They should have gotten a receiver. Apparently, the A.J. Brown, was he available? No. Maybe if he offered something stupid. So the idea that the Bills stood pat, but so did the Pats and so did the Chiefs. Okay. End results, here we go. Bills still trailing New England in the division. They still have the tiebreaker against Kansas City and Baltimore.
And I love Michael F. Florio, who joined us last hour. Man, just putting the regime on notice, putting Brandon Beane on notice, putting Sean McDermott on notice. Like, how many more chances are you going to get to do this? It has to be Super Bowl this year. You can't just say we're going to go all in next year, because I feel like you say that every year. And as much as I love the rant that we got out of Florio, your rant, his rant, anybody's rant, the only person who has the ability to influence change in Buffalo is named Terry Pagula. So until that guy gets fed up with it, and I think we've seen Terry Pagula, like he's made some changes with the Sabres, but I mean, it's taken a lot of really, really bad things to happen for that to happen.
Well, I mean, I think part of it was the Bills are in this position. You knew you had to pay Josh Allen. They've handed out some bad contracts. Like Dawson Knox, probably still on the team next year. His cap at $17 million, carrying $7 million dead cap. You could swallow that, I suppose. Curtis Samuel. Gosh, he still has a dead cap figure next year. There's just some bad contracts on this team right now, no doubt. Taron Johnson, Matt Perino brought this up. He's taken a step back this year. He hasn't been the guy. Maybe health has been a thing of it. Well, then why did you just kick the can down the road with him? He's not going to go anywhere if he's got a $9.5 million dead cap figure. So this current cast of Buffalo Bills players, it's going to be here for the most part in 2026, Danger. Yes, there'll be some changes, but that was the point that I think Florio brought. There's just some bad contracts on this team right now.
Yeah. So there you have it. The trade deadline and some movement in the division with the Jets cleaning house. And for any position that you want, if you're a Bills fan, there was movement at that position. If you wanted a safety, we saw safeties get dealt. We saw corners get dealt. We saw defensive linemen, edge rushers get dealt. We saw wide receivers get dealt. There was plenty of action. I mean, I want to say this was a more active NFL trade deadline than we've seen in some time.
Oh gosh, it was a fun afternoon until we got on the air. In the last hour, I was like, wait, is that all we have?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all we have. I don't know what Dallas is thinking based off of last night.
Oh.
That was what Jerry was teasing, like, oh, I got a deal in place. Quinnen Williams ended up being the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, don't lose to Jacoby Brissett.
Well, Jacoby Brissett did enough to earn himself another week starting for the Arizona Cardinals. He'll be starting against Seattle.
Well, and Schefter putting out that now they're saying 4 to 8 weeks with Kyler Murray. Who was a church lady? How convenient.
Yeah. No, I like what Florio said on that, too. Jacoby Brissett will be the starter until he is not the starter, until he plays bad. He has a bad game. Mm-hmm. Kyler Health will start feeling a little bit better, I'm sure. Kyler Murray will be back in there. If there's it could be as soon as against Seattle. Dallas's defense is terrible. Thankfully, they have Cincinnati to fall back on. Cincinnati is comically bad, but the Cowboys are much better.
The Colts dealing 2 first-rounders for Sauce Gardner. That's the shocking move. Oh,
yep.
And A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah.
Okay. He's not a part of this offense. Go. Throw it in. That's just kind of a throw-in. is Sauce Gardner any good? I'm asking honestly because big name, Cincinnati, and not on a good team, gets handed the money, kind of hard to evaluate. It's a risky move for the Colts. It feels more like an all-in move, though, this year.
I like the move for the Colts. I don't, to answer your question, here's what I'll say about Sauce Gardner. I don't know about his play. I know last year was down. He was down last year and a lot of head scratchers after he got the big extension, which turned out to be a pretty easy deal to move for the Jets to Indianapolis. But you're getting a corner, and specifically at corner, this is the age range when you want your guy out there. And Gardner is at the peak of his athletic ability, and you would assume the peak of his technique as a corner as well. For the Colts, it addresses apparently a need, and you've got an owner now who's making a name for herself for being different, for doing things a little unorthodox on the sideline with the headset. Her old man would probably pull a deal like this.
Oh, her old man would have loved this.
Loved a deal like this. Yeah. F them picks. Let's get a player. That's a player. Is he? We'll see. We're going to find out. We have some skin in the game. Indianapolis is our survivor pick for Week 10.
Do you like sweating in the morning? Because that's the game in Berlin.
The Berlin game. Yeah. I won't sweat. I will be singing the song that I learned in German class as a coping mechanism. Mein Hut, der hat drei Ecken hat der Hut. My hat, it has 3 corners. 3 corners on my hat. I've never visited Germany, but if I do, that's the first thing I'm saying, and I don't know what will happen to me.
You are making a point for every marketer that you should advertise on radio, because when you put things to music, you remember that for a lifetime.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could do a jingle power ranking on the Fan Rochester. We got some bangers on this station.
Oh, look. Not even Debbie Supply, number 1 there with the steel guitar.
Hold on. There is one that's more seasonal.
Oh, well.
That I would say, if it is the season, is probably the greatest of all jingles. It's even though it's not technically a jingle, it's more of a cover.
It's
a parody.
Parody.
Mm-hmm.
You can Thanksgiving week. I can tell you it's coming back.
Mark your calendars.
Mark your calendar. It's the only commercial where people actually call up. What time is that coming on?
Hi guys.
We've got Matt Thomas coming up.
Completely got me off track.
Yeah. Can I go with a non-sports thing before we get the shots? And we got this weird Tom Brady story. We got a lot of things happening here.
Yeah, we'll get the shots here in a second.
So Friday you did your Candy Power rankings. Who was at number 1?
Oh, number 1, repeating. Number 1 with a bullet. The greatest candy innovation since the introduction of the Sour Patch Kid. That would be the Nerds Gummy Cluster.
So what happened today was that, and this happens probably in a lot of places, you have excess candy. And for a lot of us, the excess candy danger with the bad weather, a lot of stuff to hand out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have a lot of leftover candy in the house. Attendance was lower than expected. We have some full-size candy bars that didn't get handed out. We've got a lot. I think we've got a couple of bags. I thought about it for a second. I'm like, what do we do with this? Can you return candy? Can we bring it into the office? Is that the move? What do you do with all the leftover candy?
So Shannon brought this in, and there's a candy jar right outside our GM Tim's office, and there was filled up, and there they were. And I've never had a take on it because I live by this: don't knock it until you try it.
You'd never had the Nerds Gummy Cluster.
Don't knock it till you try it.
So you just try. Today, you popped your cherry. You had a Nerds Gummy Cluster for the first time.
That's one way to put it.
That's the way I put it.
Now I can knock it, Danger. Completely overrated.
It's God.
It's nothing more than a Smartie.
Somebody boo this man.
It's tart.
Boo.
It's gross.
Boo. Boo this man, I say.
That's the new candy?
It's elite. It's elite.
How many did you throw back? You were pounding.
No, but when there's nobody looking tomorrow and there's nobody in the office, I'm going to be a dangerous man up there. My blood sugar, my BMI will be a Nerds Gummy Cluster by the end of the day tomorrow. I did 2 little fun size bags. They're small. They're, just enough to get a taste. I'm on the NGC.
Now, I'm not not saying they were bad, but I'm not saying they're not number one. But
Gino, you're gonna go for those. There's a lot of them in there.
There's a ton.
I think you and I contribute to the dent in the candy jar more than anybody else.
It's
in the
bad
office.
because you and I have other jobs, and it's that okay, show's coming up.
Yep.
Stress.
Give me a little sugar boost.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm on the NGC.
Our phone number 866-4FAN. One of our favorites, Steve and Victor. Steve, what's up, bud?
Hey, bud.
I had two takes now because one's about the gummy clusters, and Danger's spot on. It's elite Halloween candy.
That's right.
Two, the jingles. What makes a jingle really good is the sound effects that happen during it. The old boing really gets the sound effects. Really elite sound effects.
Yeah.
With the jingle. There we go. Top 10 jingle though.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you. Hey guys. It's almost time of year.
Danger cranks that up and just every time, imagine how loud it gets in here.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks, Steve. Steve absolutely knows what we're talking about. That's elite listenership right there. That is a guy that's hanging on every word and every jingle on the Fan Rochester. Elite listener. Just like the Nerds Gummy Cluster is an elite Halloween candy. Gino, I'm sorry. I don't know what damaged you, but maybe you'll come around. Maybe a little bit more exposure to the NGC over the next few days. Maybe that changes your tune a little bit.
Well, again, now I can knock it. I think I'm not hating on it. But then again, if it's free tomorrow, I'll be.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Round of shots next.
Syracuse basketball. We've got NBA tonight. Tom Brady did something that I think would divide an audience. Would you do this with Walter? Your dog.
Okay. We can explore this.
And Daniel Collins. Do you remember Daniel Collins? She was the tennis player, U.S. tennis player in Australia that was just bad-mouthing the...
Oh, she was lippy with the audience because they were booing her, right?
Yeah. Well, she's putting it out there. She's got a dating profile. I'm not so sure. Your chance to date a professional athlete, but would you really want to? When I tell you about this.
All right. A round of shots on the way. And before we get to closing time here, RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas stopping by the sports bar as well. Your call's at 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
Sports update.
No, the Bills did not make a trade at the deadline today. They stand pat. The Jets, however, had a big fire sale. Sauce Gardner going to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. Quinnen Williams going to the Cowboys, this for a first and a second. The Jets now with 2 first-round picks in 2026, 3 first-round picks in 2027. Seattle getting wide receiver Rashid Shaheed from the Saints, this for 2 mid-round picks. Jacoby Myers goes for 2 picks from Las Vegas to Jacksonville. We've got Sabres hockey tonight. Utah is the opponent. J.J. Peterka returning to Western New York. Our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock. The Amerks home tomorrow night and Friday night. Syracuse is the opponent tomorrow night. RIT hockey back home this weekend against Mercyhurst. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Listen to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan, Rochester.
We'll get to RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas here in just a couple few. Before that, it's time for a round of shots in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Yeah, if Syracuse had lost to Binghamton on opening night in basketball, that would have been a story. Nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. The Orange win by 38, 5 SU players in double figures. J.J. Sterling did leave the game with a lower body injury. Syracuse hosting Delaware State on Saturday. It's the time of year you better get some W's here.
I feel like they might be okay if Starling can't go.
I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah, let him rest up. Don't expect Michael Jordan's insights to be a regular thing on NBC. You're not going to see it tonight. The network doesn't want to burn it out here. Probably won't see it until the All-Star break, in fact. Well, not tonight, especially a game that you're likely not tuning in for. Only 6 games in the NBA tonight. The game on NBC, Orlando at Atlanta. That's going to be followed up by OKC and the Clippers.
I think the NBA probably oh boy, we got Michael Jordan bashing load management now. Like, what, that was the clip that I saw from his initial interview with Tirico, and I loved everything that he said about it. Where are we at? I know there were some NBA Cup games over the
Friday,
weekend. Are we back to the NBA Cup now? These games are not NBA Cup relevant? I don't know.
No, I am ignorant.
Blissfully ignorant.
Yeah, and if that makes us a bad sports show, I'm just being honest. I don't know and really don't care about the NBA Cup.
Orlando at Atlanta. Orlando is supposed to be good this year.
Supposed to.
Yeah. Okay.
Tom Brady had a dog, a pit bull. Pit bull's name was Lua. Lua crossing the Rainbow Bridge back in 2023. Danger, today we learned that this dog was cloned.
Oh.
Junie is alive today. Junie is the clone. Colossal Biosciences is the company that Brady is invested in. Apparently, this company has cloned dogs for Barbara Streisand and Paris Hilton, too.
Wow.
Brady's first dog, Lua, was shared with the old family, his ex-wife, Giselle Bundchen. Well, Junie, he gets to keep all to himself here.
So you asked the question, would I?
Would you clone Walter?
He's the best dog ever. He's the best dog ever. I think if I had the means, I would consider it. Yeah. It's a little weird.
It's very weird.
It's a little weird, but I mean, if the dog is the dog is dog, right? Dog deserves life. I know that, you want to adopt where you can adopt and you want to help save, a dog when you can help save a dog or a cat or an animal or whatever, but they're the best dog ever.
I'm floored that this is actually happening in our lifetime. Like Brady is invested in this company just so, hey, you know what? I'm going to need fill in blank here, new organ. He's going to clone himself.
He will outlive all of us.
Fact.
Yeah, and he'll probably be he'll probably live to at least 147. I'm going to say 147. He'll set records. The ultimate competitor will compete in the game of life, and he will beat all of us, and it won't even be close.
It's the year 2080, and Tom Brady 2. Not Tom Brady the second. Tom Brady 2.0 is starting for the New England Patriots.
Not the hologram of Tom Brady. No, actually, Tom Brady cloning Tom Brady.
There are 2 ways to get into Cooperstown, the baseball writers. There's also the Era Committee. It's formerly called the Veterans Committee. Here are the nominees from the Era Committee. Ooh. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Carlos Delgado, Jeff Kent, Don Mattingly, Dale Murphy, Gary Sheffield, and Fernando Valenzuela, who is no longer with us. A panel made up of 16 former players, executives, and yes, sports writers and historians.
Yes!
They'll meet at the winter meetings coming up late November, early December, and you need to get 12 of the 16 in this panel to say yes to be inducted into Cooperstown.
Okay, so 12 of the 16, and we could actually see Barry Bonds and Clemens get in. We could see... I was surprised Del Murphy's not in. Or Fernando.
Or Mattingly.
Or Mattingly,
Fernando would be the sentimental pick, right? And I always hate that. Like, oh, we should have done this while he was alive. See Buck O'Neil. I don't think Clemens or Bonds, because I would definitely say Murphy's overdue, Mattingly. Sheffield's an interesting case, too. He put up great numbers. He was just kind of a prick to the baseball writers. And
what about Delgado?
Delgado's
got to get in.
It's reminded every time I go to a Jays game. There's his name up there.
Absolutely. That's right.
Finally, do you remember Danielle Collins? If you don't, that's fine. She's the tennis player from the U.S. who played the villain so well in the Australian Open. In fact, if you remember this, Danger, it was actually, we nominated this for Take of the Year.
Yes, this is Danielle Collins at the Australian Open.
Danielle, congratulations. That was a roller coaster of a ride.
Yeah, I mean, destiny. I was thinking during the match, I was like, if I'm out here, I might as well just take that big fat paycheck. And Coco and I love a good 5-star vacation. So part of that check is going to go towards that. So thank you guys. Thanks for coming out here and supporting us tonight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Friendly Australian's not happy with it. Well, I know this is shocking. She broke up with her boyfriend.
What?
No, but everybody picked up on this. She's actually on a dating app.
Okay.
Here's her bio. Currently a professional tennis player, but kind of aspiring to be a traditional wife. Straight up. Already had my boss babe era, just wanting to raise my chickens, do home projects, make freshly baked sourdough, be a stay-at-home dog mom, and hopefully pop out some babies soon. If you're going to lie about your height, just leave me the bleep alone. This is a no short king zone.
All right.
If that didn't scare you off, that last part, then she also followed this up on social. I'll tell you what. If anyone has the balls to slide into my DMs, just make sure to attach your most recent bank statement while you're at it.
She don't hold back.
I think we should fix up Terrible Time Timmy.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else we could, put on their profile?
I think if there's anybody that can fix up Terrible Time Timmy, it's this woman. Absolutely.
He's not short, so the bank statement, we'd have to figure out a plan there.
While we're talking about social media, can I get a verdict on this? I think this might be an all-time move. And there's a part of me that can't stop laughing. I've been thinking about it for 24 hours. But I'm also extremely proud. My daughter is in our fantasy football league.
Okay.
First year in the fantasy football league. I get a message from her on LinkedIn yesterday. Hi, Christopher. It's been some time since we've connected. I hope you and your family have been well. Would you be available for a coffee chat over the next few days? I would love to discuss the possibilities of acquiring Mr. Roma Dunze. Looking forward to hearing from you and the opportunity for future collaboration. Best, Leah Leverage. That's my daughter sending me a direct message on LinkedIn proposing a trade in fantasy football. So can I get a verdict? Proposing a fantasy football trade via LinkedIn. Keep it a professional. You're the manager. You're the manager of the team.
Now you have to trade him.
I saw that, and when I saw it, I shouldn't admit this. I kind of glazed over. I'm like, what is she doing? Is she spamming all of her followers? And then I really read it, and when I really read it, I'm like, oh my God, this kid is hitting me up. She's tried every method possible to pry this player that she loves off of my team. I've said no, and it's cost me. She said Drake London for Roma Dunze. Let's go. Make a trade. And I said no. What did Drake London do last week?
Yeah, okay.
What did Drake London do? 3 touchdowns.
So
what did Roma Dunze do? 0.
All right, so make that trade now.
I might have to make that trade now.
Now you make that trade.
She's buying low. She's going to take Roma Dunze. She's going to buy low. Drake London's going to tear his ACL or something. I'm not wishing that on him. Don't get me wrong. But that's just the way it goes. Unbelievable. I think it might be a move. I think it's a strong, strong move. You're professional. You're courteous. And you're asking for something directly. I couldn't believe it. Now, back to Danielle Collins. We need to connect her in terrible time, Timmy. The two of them could be beautiful. The bank statement part might be a problem for
We'd have to
terrible take,
something
Timmy.
out. Yeah, we'd have to forge that or
To
something.
make something up. But aside from that, they could be perfect for each other. We got to get to RIT men's hockey coach, Matt Thomas. Do you think he listens before he comes on with us and is like, what am I doing with these guys?
Yeah, his phone will be suddenly on mute and won't be joining us. But I'm sure Matt Thomas, they've won 5 in a row. He's going to be in a good mood.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
What do we got this weekend?
We've got Mercyhurst.
Big.
Yeah.
All right.
Get this.
Matt Thomas, RIT men's hockey coach, next. Last call in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan.
Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Back in the sports bar, it's last call. Let's check in with RIT men's hockey coach, Matt Thomas. We have a saying in the sports bar, we don't mess with a win streak. I would say something else, but we're FCC regulated.
Right, yeah, we're just going to keep this rolling. Matt, thanks for your time here this afternoon. And 2 wins at Colgate. Now, it's kind of a wonky schedule for the Tigers here, and appreciate their time today. We're, home pretty much October. Then you go on the road. What does that mean to go on the road and take 2 games like you did?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a different game when you go on the road. You got to figure out a few things about your team, about the way you want to play, how you're going to play on the road. I thought our guys did a tremendous job. We went in, really managed our game, made it a little bit uglier than we probably the players want, but the guys bought into it. So it was a huge 2 wins on the road, and good to keep some momentum headed in the right direction.
It's a drawn analogy to another team that's popular here. That would be the Bills. And Sean McDermott took over kind of sort of the defense, right? And he talked about the physicality, and it's a defense, it's a sport in football where, hey, you can't play finesse. This is kind of hard. Matt, like what kind of attitude are you trying to instill in this Tiger defense? Because I think that would be one of the reasons why your team is on a 5-game winning streak here.
Yeah, we definitely want to defend, and kind of have this sounds horrible, but a violent element towards the way we defend. Like, it needs to be hard. It needs to be borderline all the time, where you're trying to end a play. And we talk a lot, one of the phrases I use is end it before we have to defend it. And we want to be a team that ends plays quickly. That doesn't always happen, right? You usually don't have support at all the right time where you can go and be as aggressive as you want to be. But where I think our team's done a really good job defending is, our attitude is about trying to be physical when we can be, but we're not going to sacrifice physicality when we don't have our structure. We don't want to be overly physical when we're not in positions that we should be. So there's a little bit of thinking that goes on. And last time I checked, players don't like to think, they want to play. But our guys are doing a great job, balancing both those things. So there's a lot of really good going on. And obviously there's always this time of year a lot of room for improvement. And I just like the way our guys are responding to those things that we're challenging them with.
Matt, going into this season, I don't think like us from the outside, we had no idea what to expect. We didn't know you very well. We didn't know some of these new players well. We knew the guys that were returning. I'm talking about your Simon Isabels, your Tyler Mahans. What does it mean that your veteran leadership is kind of bought in right off the bat to your new system here?
Well, it's like anything. It's funny. Those are the players that I'm probably the hardest on. Put Christian Catalano in that group, Kevin Scott, Crossley Stewart on the back end. Like, they're the guys I bark at the most. And part of it for me is, if I can give it to them when they need to elevate their game, more importantly, they're really, really good players that are very dialed into their craft, right? They want to be really good. So they take hard coaching in a really positive way, but they're seeing some success just from that requirement that we need them to elevate their game at certain times. And when your best players and most experienced players are willing to do it, you just can't help but, as a freshman, as a sophomore, as a younger player, to say, well, heck, if they're doing it, I better dig in and do it too. And that's a really, really powerful thing within a team environment, when you start to see the guy sitting next to you, that he's elevating both his physical play, his speed, his willingness to add details into our game. We talk a lot about managing the game within the game. Like, we have to understand the scoreboard. We got to understand where we went in, we played 2 games where, the other team pulled their goalie, and we had to learn how to defend, a 6 versus 5. And those are really good, valuable lessons that you can get early in the year. And, our guys are really believing in how we want to play, and they're just buying into it, and they're digging in.
So you're back to conference play. Mercyhurst coming in Friday night, and then you get them Saturday at 5:05. Traditionally, Mercyhurst is this team under Rick Gock, and then they play this wide open style and everything. Are you game planning for them in a certain way, or is it more still about you guys, what you have to do, what you're focusing on? Your thoughts about this matchup here coming up, Coach?
Yeah, to me, these are always the trap games, right? So we have all this success at home and for 2 weekends, then we go have a great one on the road, then you come home, right? And then, there's that natural ability to hey, look at us. We won at home. We had a great sweep against Air Force. Then we went on the road and we were able to do it. How do you keep that going, right? And to me, that's the maturity of your group. So it's a really, really tricky weekend for us. So we're not going to worry about Mercyhurst. Again, I've said it pretty often with you guys and others that I don't care who's on the other side. Obviously, we have to be respectful of the way they play and some of the things that they do because we have to game plan because we want to be at our best. But really, it's about the things that we're looking to do and how we're looking to play. We've got to improve on those areas. And if we do, we feel confident that we can beat any team if we're playing to the best of our abilities within that structure. So there's certainly some things. Today I was probably more intense than I was last Tuesday, and that for me, that's an important element because these home games are now a premium for us. We only have these 2 and then one more before Christmas. So we cannot let these opportunities to win at home slip away because we do know how hard it is to win on the road. So it's a really, really critical weekend. Our intensity needs to be right where we need it to be, and it probably needs to be more intense than it was last week, just because of the nature and how important these games are. But we're just rolling. We're just keeping doing what we're doing. And the guys are buzzing. They're feeling it. There's a good feeling around the group right now, and that's always a fun time to be a coach and to be around a winning team is when the guys are excited to be here and put in the work.
Matt Thomas, RIT Hockey, coming up Friday night at 7 and also Saturday at 5. Matt, quickly, 20 seconds. I know you grew up a Leafs fan. Were you a Jays fan too? If so, how's your family doing?
Yeah, everyone's hanging in there, but I appreciate you asking. Pretty proud, obviously. I don't know if you've seen I'm sure you have the clip going around of Ernie Clement talking about what the team means to him. Just special stuff. What a season. Tough way to lose, but they're always tough. There's no easy way to lose in a Game 7 in extra innings. But I'm a Jays fan. They won it. I'm on October 25th birthday, so it always right around my thing. So 92 and 93 were big-time wins for me.
Matt, thanks for the time today, Matt. And who knows, they might be back. Matt Thomas, head coach at RIT. Danger Big Show tomorrow, including Maggie Gray.
Yeah, no question about it. Thanks for the time, Coach. Appreciate it. Maggie Gray stopping by at 5:05. PJ Glasser of Send It In on the BetMGM Network with some winners at 3:25. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and